Has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored.
The auspicious ceremony, graced by resource persons from academia, politics, diplomacy, and the business community, sought to create an avenue for young ladies to receive the needed guidance and support to excel in life. In attendance were also some selected mentees who were inducted into the academy on December 29, 2023. A legal practitioner and life coach, Theodore Albright, entreated young women to apply the theory of math, which denotes mindset, attitude, time, habits, and system of growth in their day-to-day activities, since it would impact their lives positively and help bridge the gender inequality gap.
So your mindset is your superpower. Your ability to think and hold a thought is your superpower. And why is that the case? You see, your mind is your interface between yourself and the universe and the world around you. Your mind is your interface between yourself and the universe around you. And because you're swimming in a sea of infinite data, it is important that you are able to shape your mind in a way negating the data that is not helpful and looking for data that is useful for your growth. So your mind is your interface between yourself and the world. And that interface is optimized on quality data. Hello? That interface is optimized on quality data. So the better the data, the better your outcomes. We're talking about cause and effect. We're talking about action and reaction. All right? So the better the data you take in, the better your outcomes. So your primary objective for your mind must be to feed it with quality information and quality data.
The Obesima Academy is a brainchild of the annual Obesima Summit, birthed in 2019, which seeks to empower, mentor, and guide females from all walks of life to excel creditably.
A party that produces John Evans Atamils is a party you should be proud about. A party that produces a pride of the North, John Dramani Mahama, is a party you should be proud about. Northern region, you have produced a person that we can be proud about. Genuine son of the region, genuine son of Ghana. He tells the truth. Now when he speaks, don't you trust him? Yes, you can trust him. He told Ghana that even though Dumso was not caused by me, I will fix Dumso. And what did he do? He fixed it. So you can commit your business into his hand because he's a man that can be trusted. You can commit your farms into his hand. He's a man that can be trusted. You can commit Ghana and the resources of Ghana and the destiny of 30 million plus Ghanaians into his hand. Why? He can be trusted. The same cannot be said for the other son that came from your region. That other son that comes from the northeastern part of this region of yours cannot be trusted. So you have produced two sons. One can be trusted. The other one, you cannot even give your small business into his hand. Comrades, you owe it to Ghana to ensure that the son who can be trusted rises again to the leadership of this country. You owe it to Ghana to ensure that the other son who cannot be trusted should never, never, never come to that level of leadership. Never. A person who tells you, I have locked the dollar and put a padlock at with the IGP, and then within no time, you saw what happened to the dollar. A man who told you that he was working at what? The Bank of Ghana, and he knew where the money was. He can resolve all the problems of the economy. And when I come, it will be what? Growth and growth and growth, employment and job and job and job. Today, he has run away from the economy and says he's a digitalization champion. He is a liar. He is a liar. And a liar is a corrupt person. A liar cannot be trusted. You cannot put this nation in the hand of a liar. God forbid. God forbid. I feel sad because somehow he was supposed to have a beginning in our party. And you know, his family has been an NDC family. And somehow we have always thought that we produce people who tell the truth. I've always thought that this party produces people who tell the truth. Even if you have to leave this party to join another party, at least take a little bit of our truth telling into that new party. But no. So it looks like sometimes it's just that some people simply do not have the capacity to have honor and to have truth. Today, when you ask them why is the economy the way it is, they say no, it's because of Russia and Ukraine. It's because of COVID. They don't have the capacity to say it is because of our mismanagement. Because you are put in charge of the economy a vice president who is simply an empty barrel, who speaks a lot but cannot perform. What a solid team! What a solid team! Not knowing it was not a solid team at all. It was a bunch of empty barrels who make all the noise, but when it comes to performance, nothing to write home about. Northern region, we thank you. You are a region some of us have always had a lot of love and respect for. Why? I see in you the courage that I saw in Rawlings. I see in you the capacity to tell the truth that I saw in Rawlings, which is the foundation of this party. And you have to do everything possible to make sure that that one who does not represent the truth that you represent, the courage that you represent, the truth that you speak, he should never come close to that seat of the presidency. That will be a desecration of the seat of government. That will be a disgrace to Ghana to have such a liar rising to become the president of Ghana. You owe it to us. You owe it to the rest of Ghana. Make sure only your noble son rises there. You have many more sons who in the future will be able to follow him. But that one from Northeast, never, no such liar should ever become the president of Ghana. Thank you very much.
It is very common for you to realize that this situation results in health challenges. In fact, people's health, especially women, are affected as a result of this water challenge. Many women sleep less because they have to wake up very early, travel long distances in search of this water that they hardly find, and even when they get the water that is not potable, they have to carry this load for long distances. As a result, their health is impacted. Mr. Speaker, early in the morning, it's very common for you to find women with babies on their backs carrying these heavy loads of water on the streets of, Tamale, water that is not even potable. Apart from the health of women that is impacted by this water shortage, you also have the education of our children heavily impacted, because in many homes, children have to wait for their mothers to travel these long distances and bring water. If they do not have even the energy to support them. If they are grown enough, they follow their parents to, source for this water. And after that, they are so tired, they get to school, they either get to school late, or when they do, they lack concentration in the classroom because of the challenge of seeking or finding or looking for water in the morning before going to school.
And the acute water shortage has gripped our city, leaving our beloved people parched and desperate. Mr. Speaker, that has occasioned some immense hardship and impacting negatively on every aspect of life in the Tamale city, whether from Gujatua, Kudula through Lameshego through Sanarago through Kobremagu Kuku, or whether through Kotongle or Palsi or Sakasaka or Sogna Hill or Sabonjira, the problem remains the same. And our people are seen carrying what is popularly known as the Kufuor gallons in search for water. Mr. Speaker, many of the communities have not even seen pipe-borne water in the last few years. Mr. Speaker, accordingly, I want to government to consider declaring Tamale a water scarce zone, allocate emergency resources to address the immediate needs of residents in the Tamale metropolis, and then deploy emergency water relief supply. Even if the Ghana Water Company can ration water around the community, it may alleviate the suffering of the people.
Israel had in recent days issued evacuation warnings to the over 1 million Palestinians taking refuge in and around the city, threatening a ground invasion. Many of those in Rafah have already been displaced more than once, are facing infectious disease, dealing with injuries, and barely have sufficient food and supplies to survive, making another evacuation next to impossible. Countries such as Netherlands, France, the United Kingdom, Turkey, Japan, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt, along with the European Union, have released statements expressing concerns over Israel's threat to carry out a ground invasion of Rafah and the feared civilian death toll and destruction that it could bring. They have strongly urged Israel not to go ahead with its planned invasion of the city. Additionally, Egypt has warned that if Israel goes ahead with the attack of Rafah and tries to forcibly transfer the displaced Palestinians in Gaza to Egyptian territory, then all peace and security agreements, including the historic Camp David Accord of 1978, as well as the border security arrangement at the Rafah border crossing between Egypt and Gaza, could be terminated. The Palestinian resistance group Hamas, which is currently engaged in ceasefire negotiations with Israel, mediated by Egypt and Qatar, among others, has said that any invasion of Rafah would immediately torpedo any ongoing negotiation effort. Several aid groups and UN agencies have vehemently condemned Israel's threat to invade Rafah and have reiterated the demand for an immediate, unconditional ceasefire to stop the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza from getting any worse. The World Health Organization's chief, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, termed reports regarding the invasion extremely worrying, and on X noted that proceeding with the plans could have gravely devastating consequences for the 1.4 million people who have nowhere else left to go and who have almost no place left to seek health care. Doctors Without Borders also in a statement stressed that Israel's declared ground offensive on Rafah would be catastrophic and must not proceed. As aerial bombardment of the area continues, more than 1 million people, many living in tents and makeshift shelters, now face a dramatic escalation in this ongoing massacre. Nowhere in Gaza is safe, and repeated forced displacement have pushed people to Rafah, where they are trapped in a tiny patch of land and have no options. Meanwhile, as Israel's genocidal war of genocide enters the 129th day, hundreds have reportedly been killed and injured in the ongoing bombardment and ground attacks across the Gaza Strip. At least 67 Palestinians are reported to have been killed and close to 300 injured in Israeli airstrikes today in Rafah, along with at least 15 others in Deir al-Balah in central Gaza. Furthermore, Israeli army snipers also shot and killed 7 people inside the Nasser hospital in Khan Younis. Over the weekend, Israel's aerial and ground assaults across Gaza killed around 200 and injured hundreds. The total death toll in Gaza since October 7 has increased to at least 28,340 Palestinians, while an estimated 67,984 have been injured. Israeli media reported that in the early morning of February 12, 2 Israeli hostages were recovered by Israeli forces in Rafah, marking the first time hostages had been taken in a military operation. The feat has been widely celebrated by mainstream media across the world, with many peace and advocates worrying that it could be used as a pretext to increase military operations in Rafah at the cost of thousands of Palestinian lives.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer.
Well, good morning to you, and thank you very much for choosing Pan-African Television, and in the process you also chose Radio Gold 90.5 FM. We are live from the studios, the Dr. Osajifo Kwame Nkrumah studios of Pan-African Television, where we are bringing you the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. I am Senna Nombo. This morning, we are talking about the ministerial reshuffle and whatever impact it will make. Well, we have a new health minister. Kweku Agyeman finally leaves the post. There have been calls for his removal since he told untruths about why the UGMC was not operating, but he's managed to stay in office for that long. There's a new health minister. Dr. Bernard Okoboy will be the new health minister. There's a new environment, science, technology and information minister, Honorable Ophelia Mensah Hayford. There's a new information minister. The deputy takes over from Kojo Nkrumah. That's Miss Fatima Abubakar. There's a new gender, children and social protection. Lariba Abudu makes way for Honorable Dakwa Newman, who is an MP currently. There's local government decentralization and rural development. Dan Kwekubochwe makes way for Honorable Martin Ajay Mensah Kosa. Remember his tussle in Techiman South. Sanitation and water resources will now be occupied. That position will now be occupied by Honorable Lydia Seram Al-Hassan, who is Member of Parliament for the constituency that Pan-African Television is located. There's also Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister, a new one. Andrew Ejapamesa moves from the Ministry of Energy as a deputy and takes over that position from Awal, Dr. Awal. There's a new Greater Accra Regional Minister. Honorable Titus Glover is a new Greater Accra Regional Minister. The OT region, Mr. Daniel Machato will take over from Mr. Makabo or something, who was involved in that famous show of cash in the MPP primaries. There are also many deputy ministers. Just one of note that I will mention, that's the Honorable Sylvester Tete. Remember him? Member of Parliament for English Yamanfro, the one who followed Alan, made a 360-degree turn, will be Deputy Minister for Information. There's been some reassignments. So Minister for Finance will now be Honorable Mohammed Amin Adams, who has been Minister of State at that ministry for some time since Edo Wahen was removed. Interior Minister will now be Honorable Henry Korte, who was Greater Accra Regional Minister. Roads and Highways, Kwesi Amakwata has left the position after 7 years in charge, and will hand over to Honorable Francis Asenso-Boakye, who is a darling of the President, and he will leave the Works and Housing Ministry and will hand over that position to Kojo Ponkroma, who will now move from Information to Housing. And then there's Minister of State, Office of the President. Ambrose Derry, who was removed from the Ministry of Interior, is now Minister of State, Office of the President. He seems so happy about it. You should see some of the videos that are appearing on social media and the dancing and everything. And then there's Local Government Decentralization and Rural Development. A deputy who was at Works and Housing, Abdullah Abanga, is now Deputy Minister for Local Government Decentralization and Rural Development. The question is, what impact will this really make? A lot of the people coming in are members of Parliament, so they're suggesting that there are more political reasons than reasons in the interest of improving our situation as Ghanaians. Well, then we'll talk about the issue of running mate. Well, there was a cryptic message from Apostle Opokunyina indicating that perhaps he's more interested than he looks in the running mate position of the New Patriotic Party. Then there's also Togbe Apede, who issues a statement this week to respond to claims that he was interested in the running mate position. He says essentially, if you give me, I will not reject any opportunity to serve this country. So, no denial. So, we're talking about the running mate situation in both parties. Then we'll move to the war on Palestine. Israel is continuing. Their latest plan is to enter into one of the places that a lot of Palestinians who have been actually rendered homeless by the bombing of their communities are moving into. That's Rafah. There are criticism of that move to enter there, but Israel says, I will not listen to anybody, even though some of their allies who supported them in this war, some of them are against it. So the plan is to drop more bombs in Palestine. So we'll conclude today's program with that discussion. Joining me in the studio for that discussion this morning, Mr. Kwesi Pratt Jr. is General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana, a veteran journalist. And then sitting right by him is Kojo Chumbuafo. Kojo Chumbuafo is a former Chief Executive of the Ghana Free Zones Board, then, as he was. And fantastic Eddie face he left anyway. Anytime I pass there, I remember him. And then getting closer to me is lawyer Apia Dankwa, who is a member of the Movement for Change. We'll be joined by Member of Parliament for Kwando, Honorable Dalasoa, to complete the panel for today. Let's dive right into it and start with the matter of the reshuffle. And I'll start from the middle. Honorable Kojo Chumbuafo on the ministerial reshuffle. Good morning.
Morning, good morning, Kwesi. Bakwesi, as he was fit to call him. Good morning, lawyer. How are you? You know, if you ask me to describe the current ministerial reshuffle, I will have two sentences. Apparently nothing, and nothing apparently. Nothing. Is there anybody who actually believes that Ken Ofori-Atta is still not the Minister of Finance? What are his new titles? Tell us, what are his new titles?
The reports that he will be Senior Presidential Advisor on the Economy. The second one is President's Special Envoy on International Investment and Capital Markets.
So now he's been elevated to Minister for Money Laundering. Oh, now he's the Minister for Money Laundering, apart from being the substantive Minister of Finance. I can bet you that Amin Adam will not even get to enter the office of the Finance Minister in the Finance Ministry. He will have an office somewhere in the Finance Ministry, and he will supposedly be the minister, but he will not be the minister. You see, we have to stop deluding ourselves in this country when it comes to this criminal lot, right? They have run this country for 7+ years. They have destroyed this country. They have taken us into Neanderthal times, okay? And what they seek to do is to have a third term for Akufo-Addo by using his lucky Dr. Bawumia. That's all. Dr. Bawumia has absolutely no credibility. At one point in time, he was a boys' brigade. At one time, he was called Timothy. Dr. Bawumia has made several promises. Do you recall that he said that they were going to give $1 million to every constituency? Where's the money? Remember that after they came to power, he said that the money is in Accra, so they should come and collect it, otherwise it will be stolen. Which constituency? Because of that, I even wanted to run for assemblyman for Ayawa SOS Wogo. But no money ever came. You see, through all the changing scenes of the last 7+ years, we have seen bait and switch, chicanery of the highest dexterity. They tell us one thing, they do another thing. Let me read you some of the promises. Remember, I shall protect the public purse. Is the public purse being protected? I'm too old to steal your money. I already have my money. Remember that? Yet it's a council so comedy. Remember that? Yet it's a council so comedy. Remember that? Try me and see. Remember that? I'm not corrupt, and I will never become. Corruption in this country today has been. It is unfathomable what has gone on in this country when it comes to corruption. We were in this country when we saw a deputy minister of finance. Repeat, a deputy minister of finance on TV collecting bribes. After they went into it, they came back and told us that it's nothing. When there are laws against corruption in this country, be that as it may, if it was me, Kojo Chumbuafo, who was seen on TV whilst I was in office, collecting bribes and advocating that an investor comes to give me money to go and give to the vice president's campaign, and that I myself have investments, so you should come and invest in that, what would have happened to me? Remember, we were in this country when during the COVID pandemic, when this country needed to get to its feet. COVID testing was given to a company that had been formed a few days prior to the contract being given. They gave that company to their pet Nigerian, right? That company ended up per their own figures, not mine, ended up making $87 million, and the state made 6. Right? That's not corruption. Just 2 days ago, the Auditor General's report listed Bawumia's brother as having won a Cocoa Roads, no, not won, he didn't win it. He was given a Cocoa Roads contract by sole sourcing. Remember that? That contract, according to the Auditor General, the nation would have been better served if it had gone to tender, because we would have saved 9 times what it should have cost. It cost us 9 times what it should have cost us if it had gone to tender. That's not corruption. That is the vice president who wants to be president, who said he's not corrupt, that's his brother, and you think he doesn't know about it. There are 2 different contracts. We were in this country when the finance minister himself in parliament told us, I didn't say it, he said it, that his company has made 150 million Ghana cedis of procuring loans for this country. That's not corruption. We were in this country when the president's cousin told us that in Akufo-Addo's government, family and friends is not really an issue because their grandfather had 100 children. And he chose to educate his 100 children. So because he chose to educate his 100 children, that is the reason why he has 5 first cousins in his cabinet. That's the reason why his baby mamas all have ambassadorial appointments. That's their grandfather's fault. As for John Mahama, when they were calling him, John Mahama didn't have a grandfather. Right? John Mahama's father didn't educate him. John Mahama's father, who was the first education minister in this country, he wasn't educated. So Akufo-Addo had the right to call he and Lord Mahama names. Remember that? I will fight corruption with the Anas principle. What happened to Anas? Anas now not only has to have a mask, he has to have a hole to be inside. Because when they find him, he will not live. Right? Apart from a mask. Anas, he now has to have a rat hole. Because if Anas is not now, if they get him, he'll be dead. He'll be dead.
And this I'm reading from Daily Guide.
Sorry about that. He'll be dead. What happened to Ahmed Swale when he sought to out corruption? I'll build a factory in every district. One district, one factory. Remember that? Where's the factory? Where are the factories? One village, one dam. Apart from mosquito-infested cesspools and cesspits that they built with government money, where is it? Tell me, where is it? I will arrest the dollar. Take a deep breath. When the MPP came to power, the dollar was 4 cedis and 62 cents. What is it now? It is over 13 cedis. As of now, that's if you find it. Right? Did Bawumia not tell us that if the fundamentals of your economy is weak, the exchange rate will expose you? When the exchange rate started exposing him, he said what he said was true, but the reverse is not true. Remember that? You have the video, play it. Right? These are the same people. Bawumia, remember when he talked about his economic management team? Right? The team that was better than Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool team that is on top of the league right now. Right? The team that is better than Mediama. The economic team that now has fizzled into thin air and has acquired latent heat of vaporization. The whole economic team is gone. One of the members of the economic team, Alan Chematin, has resigned from the party and is now telling us that Dr. Bawumia is a damn liar. Remember that? But worst of everything is that Dr. Bawumia himself has disavowed the government of which he was number 2 man for 7.5 years. Dr. Bawumia is now telling us that certain taxes like e-levy, he will proscribe it when he becomes president, because as we speak now, he's applying, he is hanging by the car as he goes, and when he gets there, uses his feet to scratch the car, and he says, Kanish, 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 Kanish. Before the truck gets to Fadama last stop, he has to Kanish, Kanish before he's telling us that he's proscribing e-levy. Senna, were we not in this country when the government used taxpayers' money to fly Adwa Safo in a private jet to Ghana so that she could vote for e-levy? When she got to Ghana, she refused to go and vote. So she was ensconced in her house like an Egyptian mummy. And according to her baby daddy, Mr. Showdown himself, Kennedy Ejipon, they had to give her 150,000 cedis to come and vote. And indeed, the person who was supposed to be Adwa Safo, to all intents and purposes, looked like a scarecrow. They brought an effigy to Parliament named Adwa Safo to come and vote for e-levy. Where was Bawumia then? He didn't like the tax. He was the number 2 man, or is still the vice president of this country. He did nothing about it. And he's now telling us that you keep paying the tax. Don't worry. When I become president, I will prescribe the tax. But are you going to give us a refund? Or you think we are stupid? Where are the 111 hospitals in 18 months? Where are the hospitals? Where are the 315 new schools? Where are they? You people told us that we are a proud nation, we will never go to IMF. Where are we now? As we speak now, the IMF have hot offices in the finance ministry. African Development Bank have offices in the finance ministry because they don't trust anything you say. What happened to the Kwale Lagoon and Odo tourist sites? Then, when you talk, Baumia tells you I'm digitalization. I'm building digitalized toilets. If we haven't eaten, can we use the toilet? Or we should go to the toilet, and when you get there, you say, if you have eaten now, press 1. If you haven't eaten, press 2. Press 3 for all of the above. You see, these people are not serious. Akufo-Addo, he's not a serious person. Me, I'm sitting here today. I told you people from the get-go. Lawyer, Manganchem, he's not serious. What he came to do is to build generational wealth for himself and his family. He's done that. So he doesn't give a crap about anybody. He never did, never have, never will. Some of us told you people that, but you didn't listen. I mean, where are we now? We are in a country today where the former Chief Justice takes a chair and goes to sit at the Ministry of Finance demanding her pension, and she's insulted by whippersnappers in Papa Shikwa. Right? And we are sitting here, and Baumia is trying to tell us that all the things that he has been a part of for the last 7 years, impoverishing us, taking us to Neanderthal times, taking us to the 13th century, he's going to suddenly turn it around because he was hanging on the trottoir shouting, Kanish, Kanish. Are we stupid? What do you think we are? We think we are stupid? What you are going to do is you are going to go. And you are going to account for what you have done. All the money that has been stolen in this country, you will account. Because there are laws in this country. So what they are trying to do is to tell us that, oh, we won't use the indelible ink, right? So that they will take the votes to an MPP chairman's house, and then while people are going to go, wompia, and go and vote all around, right? By the time they come, they'll tell us certain constituencies in the Ashanti region had 100% turnout. Because we are stupid, right? And those electoral officials themselves, they have something to protect because they have built monstrous hotels and monstrous properties in cantonments and other areas. So because they need to protect that, they are coming up with this garbage. They should try it. We are waiting. But let me remind them that this country has a very painful history. History that we of the current generation need to make sure never happens again. But if they want it to happen, they should go ahead. They should try and steal the election. This reshuffle that they've done, look at the people. It's all designed so that certain people can win certain seats. Okoboy. So that Okoboy can go back and win Teshi. He won't win. He won't win. So that Okoboy can force people, can force somebody to do can force, what's his name? The Bantama MP, what's his name? Asenso Boachi to go and do roads in Techi, so you can go and stand there and say, I've done roads in Techi, so vote for me. You think the people of Techi, they are stupid? At this late hour, you think they are stupid? They will come and vote for you because you've got can't go on and down roads. Or what are you going to do? Are you suddenly going to cure malaria? What are you going to do? They should get serious They have impoverished us for the last 7 years. Since when? Since when? Do you have money in the bank? You go to the bank to collect the money, and the money will tell you that the bank will tell you that we have orders from the finance ministry not to pay you. Since when? And we are being told that inflation has gone down. Hello. If I haven't bought anything, inflation will go down. By the definition of inflation, if we can't buy anything, inflation will go down. You are not paying your bills, so inflation will go down. So don't come and sell us any nonsensical copium about inflation going down. And we are not stupid. You take Ghanaians for granted. You have taken Ghanaians for granted. And Ghanaians have kept quiet because they know they're going to vote you out. And when you go out, you will answer for everything that we are talking about, that you have done. You came to power and before you came to power, you coined the term nuisance taxes. What is more of a nuisance tax than taxing reputation? Is there any more of any tax that epitomizes what a nuisance tax is than taxing reputation? You tell me that you know of any tax that is more of a nuisance tax than the small thought. You have taxed the reputation. And you talk about nuisance taxes. You came decrying ESLA. As soon as you came, you collateralized ESLA till 2035. You've collected the money, you've chopped it. You can't. Then what be to before Kesi? As if say the Achimota school ni Yankobi. Right? Come and speak. Then when you finish, as soon as they finish, you open the Bible. But Ghanaians don't have to look any further. Akufo-Addo and Bawumia promised God a cathedral. They didn't build it. Akufo-Addo and Bawumia, they promised God a cathedral. They didn't build it. There's a hole there right now. The person who's supposed to look after that cathedral, he has two names. So if God is going to do site inspection, who is he going to go? So they have a record. The record sits there. We know it. If God goes to the cathedral site right now, is he going to look for Kusibuati or the other guy? Whose Ghana card is he going to look for? If you have the gall to promise God something and fail, why should man vote for you? Huh? Why should man vote for you? This man, Bawumia, at one time he was called Timothy. One time he was a boys' brigade. He doesn't believe in anything. All he wants to be is a token for Akufo-Addo's third term so that he can be controlled like Koliko. From wherever Akufo-Addo will go and hide after he finishes his term of office. So, what are we talking about here? Reshuffle? Reshuffle what? Who? Which of these actors don't we know? Is there anybody who believes that Mohammed Amin Adam is going to have the autonomy to be to be finance minister? Is he even going to enter that office? Is Ken Ofori-Atta still not going to keep his office? Physically, literally, figuratively, is he not going to keep that office in the finance ministry? The same finance minister that they were clapping for a few months ago. The same finance minister who used taxpayers' money to buy Kenke and Wache to eat in the courtyard. Or are they going to refund us the Kenke and Wache money? You know, they should stop joking, man. It's 9 months to the election. They should hurry up and just get lost so that the people of Ghana can bring in a competent team headed by President Mahama to regraft the affairs of this country. Because where President Mahama left us before they took over, you see, notice something. Me, it's not that I don't know figures. I can't come and stand here and rattle figures. I'm not interested in it. If you want to know figures, go and buy a 5 CD ball of kinky and then come back and tell me. Go and buy 2 CDs both float and then come back and you see real figures. See where the nation is. Oko todo 5 CDs. Now then you know where we are. When Mahama was leaving power, that size was 50 pesos. And I lawyer me boy. And then the 5 CDs. You know. Say Mahama power 50 pesos. And I said I'm boy. And I only dog. So that is what we are talking about. It's the standard of living. And you come out, we haven't eaten, you tell us you have digitalized the toilet. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? As soon as I have a tummy ache, would the toilet door open? That's digitalization. I mean, that is just ridiculous.
Thank you. Thank you. If you just join us, we're discussing the ministerial reshuffle. Mr. Kojo Chumbuafu having his bite. Let me jump to lawyer. Lawyer Pierre Danquois from the Movement of Change. Lawyer.
So, Senator, have a good morning. Accra Copite, who is on fire. Good morning. And I wish Uncle Kuzimato a lovely morning and your lovely viewers. Good morning. I think the topic for consideration is the ministerial shuffle the president did last week. What he did, in my opinion, is akin to what happened on 5th March 2023. So on 5th March 2023, Manchester United came to Anfield to meet Liverpool. And I have to put it in proper context. That was the first time their new manager, Ten Hag, was visiting Anfield. And another serious context was that in the previous season, Man U had lost 5-0 to Liverpool at Old Trafford and 4-0 at Anfield. It was a period where Liverpool were completely dominating Man U. So they chose Ten Hag. His first match, he beat Liverpool 2-1 at Old Trafford. Came to Anfield, fixed his team, had just one person in the defensive pivot against a Liverpool team that's known for pressing in their midfield. Just about 4 minutes to the end of the first half, Liverpool took the lead. And then, well, Man U won in the first half. Everybody thought, okay, in the second half, as they could turn things around. Within about 15 minutes into the second half, they were already 4 to 5 goals down. Everybody watching the game saw where the problem was with Man U. Why they were receiving goals 2-2. The problem was the midfield. The supporters were yelling, they were begging, Ten Hag, please make some substitution. Otherwise, the goals will be too much. Ten Hag didn't mind them. And then right after he conceded the 5th goal, then he made a substitution. In fact, he made 2 substitutions. Right after he conceded the 6th goal around the 85th minute, and he took off Marcus Rashford, who was very useless in the game, and brought in somebody else. Now, I could just the frustration exhibited on the day by all Man U fans all over the world was startling. Was making that substitution in the 86th minute. As in, what was the purpose? What was the reasoning? Now, this Man U Ten Hag had brought to help him McLaren on the basis that he understood Manchester United. And he had experience in the English football. So everybody would have expected that he would have told him, because even Sir Alex Ferguson, their greatest manager, always played with a double pivot when he came to Anfield. What Nanado did is very akin to the calamity Ten Hag offered to Man U supporters on that day. The only difference is being that whereas Ten Hag's own was an honest mistake, Nando's own it's not. It's actually a reflection of the lack of desire to see our country develop, and for him everything is politics. Because in 2016, prior to the election, Nado told us why he wanted to be president of Ghana. He said he was going to lead the transformation of this country, the economic transformation of this country. He said he was going to create an economy where he was going to focus or shift the resources of this country from low productive ventures into high productive ventures. He chose as his deputy His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia on the premise that he was the Maradona who was going to tackle the fundamentals to bring about that transformation. He then went ahead and chose his ministers. The whole idea is he was choosing ministers who had the skill, the wherewithal, who had the commitment and passion to bring about the transformation that he planned. Indeed, he chose almost about 130 ministers, and he made a strong argument that because of the size and the extent of the work that was required, he needed that numbers and that they were hungry to bring about transformation. He made a lot of promises. Now, to bring about transformation, there was a need for he and Ado to protect the public purse, because he believed, he told Ghanaians that, and not necessarily he telling Ghanaians, we all know that corruption was one of the biggest issues that was holding us back from being transformed. So he said when he came, he was going to protect the public purse. He also said that Accra was so dirty, and within 100 days, he was going to lead the transformation of Accra from one of the very dirty cities in Africa to the #1 cleanest city in Africa. He made a host of promises, and in my opinion, that was the thinking behind who he chose as ministers. Now, we need to understand that there was a reason why our constitution made the ministerial appointment at the pledge of the president. Well, the whole idea is that when you bring your program, you bring your strategy, and it's not working, there should be nothing that should withhold you from effecting change. Indeed, Nana-Addo was or is the fifth president, right? We have seen. So we have seen J.J. Rawlings' presidency. We have seen President Kufuor's presidency. We have seen Atta Mills' one. We've seen Mahama. And what all of them showed us was their lack of fear to change things up when they think things, or when they felt that things weren't going as per their strategy. They were not afraid to change things, because clearly, if you give somebody the job to help you achieve your vision, your ambition as president, and clearly that job isn't being done, then there was a need to change. So it was very amazing that by 2019, 2020, it was so clear that we were witnessing one of the most calamitous failures of governance, of leadership. It was so clear. It was so clear right after he won power that everything wasn't well, because indeed Ghanaians tried to even to reshuffle, or Ghanaians attempted a massive reshuffle when there was a massive overhaul of the MPs. Well, the MPP itself had to, the MPP MPs had to reduce from about 160 something MPs to 137. You understand? So clearly, Ghanaians had an issue with where his governance was going, the entire governance system was going. Our first shock was when he had opportunity, the natural opportunity in 2021 to cause a reshuffle, and he largely kept the same team in place. Indeed, we attempted to make things easier for him, because the Ghanaians realized that the main cause of the problems we were having, the calamitous problems we were having, the finance minister, there was a massive cry: change your finance minister. To make things easier, those cries weren't coming from just the opposition. If it were just coming from the opposition, they would say, oh no, wasn't business as usual, Ghana, because of partisan considerations. So no change. But the cry, the call for the substitution or the reshuffle of the finance minister came from MPP members. At that time, myself, I was an MPP. I think I used your platform, your station here, to call out for the reshuffling of the finance minister. Let's say I'm a nobody. I'm just me a lawyer. Nanado says the MPs are his MPs. I didn't know the president owned MPs, so. But when he went to, what's it called, Ecofi, he said he was punishing them by not bringing about development because they failed to vote for his MPs. So when your own MPs call on you, please reshuffle the finance minister. Nanodo said no. Let's take the finance minister aside. You recall that when the COVID report came out, those Ghanaians who couldn't believe that the health minister would attempt to pull out the Sputnik V issue on us. Now, not only did the president not see the need to reshuffle him at that point, but he actually went to meet the chiefs of Doma, and he was cracking jokes with it, that your own son, the health minister, Ghana for Papa Nasum. So if Ghanaians for Papa Nasum, the president didn't see the need to reshuffle him. Just go around the country and see the state of the roads in this country now. Just go out and sometimes you can see some of the roads, as in when they become semi-rough or totally rough and partly tarred, and you see the level of the asphalt. These are maybe 3 centimeters. And we have a road minister. When you are going to Kumasi and you see his hometown, the road going to his hometown, you are amazed. He has done. And Nanado is not seeing anything wrong with the job of the road minister. So he has refused to reshuffle him. So we can go on and on and on. The fact that the totality of the management of Ghana, of our economy, has led us to a situation where for the first time in the history of this country, Ghanaians do not trust in the safety of government of Ghana's own bonds. That's the level we've been reduced to. And yet the president thinks the team is doing fine. Well, that's what he's saying, essentially. And that's why today I wore this jersey. That's the only reason I wore this jersey. Because this was the iconic jersey Liverpool beat Man U 7-0 by. And their manager, when the score was at 5-0, was still sitting down and he didn't see the need to change anything until after the 87th minute when they were even 6-0 down. That's what Nanado is doing. Because at this last crucial minute, when we are practically on our knees, this last minute when about 83-point-something million dollars, the Sputnik cannot be accounted for per the COVID report, where in this last minute, when Ghana as a country has lost all credibility in terms of its economy, when this last minute, the people of Ghana are even questioning whether democracy has inured to our benefit. When institutions have been destroyed, this last minute, then you're going to do, is this even a reshuffle? When the major player we want out, right now you've even elevated him. You've practically elevated him to a position where the so-called finance minister will practically not be able to, because he's the senior presidential advisor on finance. So then the question is, so what is the purpose of this reshuffle? Is Nanado doing this reshuffle because he honestly cares about the country, cares about us, and thinks that there's a need for a reshuffle which would be in the interest of the country? Or he's doing the reshuffling for doing same sake? Or he's doing it because he thinks it would help his party? Because I've heard it said that there's an opportunity the president is offering some people to build their war chest. So there are some things we should not. There are some things we should not tolerate. We shouldn't tolerate the people of Ghana because we are the repositories of sovereignty. We should not tolerate some things. Because I've heard it said on some stations, he's putting them there so that they'll build their war chest. Is there some chest at the public for people to be building? Especially when the president said he was going to protect our public purse. But I'm not surprised now. Well, you see, the president, this reshuffle is not because of Ghana. After all, has the president not checked out? The president is already on retirement too. Last year, around August, he told the whole country that as the president of Ghana, he is not capable of solving our problems now, and that the leader who will come after him will solve the problems of Ghana. Did he not say that? I'm not the one saying that. So he checked out a long time ago. In his mind, he's reshuffled himself. I'm telling you, in his mind, he's reshuffled himself. But you see, what amazes me and disappoints me, because my mind, see, when you want to become president, it must be born out from a deep-seated love for your country and your belief and desire to bring about real transformation in the lives of people, of your citizens. That's why you should be prepared. Because you see, if you love the country and you know yourself more than anybody else and you think you cannot do the job, the love for your country will dictate that you do not even attempt to go for that position. But clearly, you go for the position, and I'll say it again. I've never been sued by Nanado. That's why into it. I didn't vote. I didn't vote for him. I didn't vote for President. I've never voted for NDC, but I didn't vote for my boy. I didn't believe in him. So he deliberately brought a young man. Yes, in 2008, but in 2008 he was not very prominent in the campaign. But I came to see all manner of things. He gave all manner of lectures and promises, and to the extent that they even promised God. Like my senior cry here is saying, all manner of promises. And he, you know how we see doctors, an economic doctor, he's done this, he's done that. So on that basis, some of us believe that, or some of us who didn't trust or believe that the president could do the job anyway, thought that, at least he's had the wisdom to find a young, sharp, young man who clearly has massive knowledge in the economy, and at least you help him to manage the country. Because at the end of the day, the vice president and the president are joint tickets. The constitution is so clear on it, Article 60, that immediately you, the president, you are voted in as president, then whoever you choose as your vice president is automatically elected. And that's why the vice president cannot be sacked by the president, because you are elected. And this vice president, who was tasked with transforming the economy of Ghana, fails woefully. By a very short time, has lost all credibility. Clearly has no vision. You tell us, that the last job that you are going to do is to ensure that this your vice, who could not give you any proper advice, this your vice, who you together with sat down and did nothing when clearly the ship was sinking. Right now, you want to. But Nado said that his last job. So his last job is not the reshuffling, no. His last job is not to even attempt to at least bring some small transformation. He said his last job, well, he's finished his job. He finished it in August last year. His last job is to ensure that Dr. Bawumia becomes the president of Ghana. So they've sat down, and that's now. So they sat down as a team, and they realized that, listen, for Dr. Bawumia to have any chance of becoming president, then they need to deliberately extricate Dr. Bawumia from Nanado. They've sat down. It's a strategy. They've sat down and they've planned, and they are ready. The Chebi Mafia are ready to be thrown under the bars so that they pull off their last trick. And so last week, last week, he went to give this calamity of an address. Because I don't know why Dr. Bawumia is allowing himself to be used in this manner. I can't believe it. You've had the opportunity of being vice president. Your name is already in the annals of this country. People, posterity will want to know about Dr. Bawumia. And you allow yourself, because it's a written document, it's there. Because you, the president, or the leader, because you see, all the taxes that they are levying on us now, the e-levy, the what's it called, the emission and all those, is the attempted VAT, is born out from the agreement with the IMF. It's not like, it's born out from an agreement they had with the IMF. Now the IMF deliberately mentioned the Ghanaians they had those discussions with. So when you read the IMF report, they said they met with His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bamia. They met with the finance minister, and they met with what's it called? The Bank of Ghana governor. Now, you know that for a very long time, the IMF does not impose programs on you. They allow you to bring your own program. Understand? They just give you some direction. That is a constant direction. One, bring programs that will help you raise your revenue. Bring your programs that ultimately will bring about the stability, macroeconomic stability in your, cut down your expenditure and all. Then Dr. Bamia, what's called, the finance minister, a team led by Dr. Bamia, said, okay, we can raise our revenue by taxing e-levy, by bringing e-levy. We can raise revenue by removing critical. We can raise more revenue by taking away all the VAT exemptions. That meant that now the we need to tax or to levy VAT on tariffs. Oh, we can levy tax on emission. Every day, you know, a lot of people use this number of cars. When we levy this amount of money on, we can. So it's there. When you go to the IMF, I think paragraph 25 or 20, it's all there. That's the foundation for these levies. The whole MPP machinery fought tooth and nail to get this e-levy thing passed. The whole MPP, the famous wars in Parliament. Yeah. Some of my the MPs, the macho guys amongst them.
I saw them to upper cuts.
Oh, you see, the famous battles fought. This whole Adjoa levy. Look what they said by my Accra brother here. The whole Adjoa levy matter up and down, which obviously has caused her to lose her seat. Understand? The whole MPP machinery. So right now, what's the MPP going to do? So the whole right now, would the MPP muster all their forces and campaign that the e-levy is not good? Dr. Bamia, why I lied? Because right now, when I read his whole conviction, I read this is a man who does not stand for anything, who does not believe in anything, who is as desperate as his boss for power and does not care to do anything at all to win power.
A man was called Timothy.
Because you see, and another thing, it tells that this is Bamia and his boss clearly have absolutely no respect for Ghanaians. Absolutely. I'm so fortified in my mind. Because they know that to even think that you can pull this off, you, the people who led the e-levy, the VAT, you can pull this off. Tells you about how they see us. Oh, these are some junkies. You know, let's just throw. And what came to mind was one interview Uncle Kwesiba had with. When he said you can mention something, maybe just throw it at them, you know, and he throws that. Well, they know, just throw it at them and we'll take it. We'll take it because there are people who think that, oh, he's an MPP man, and once he's coming from an MPP person, we should take it. Those days are long gone. They are long gone. So Bamia has sat down, allowed his credibility to be wiped off, and also the MPP. They are reckless. You see, you are reckless because the job of a political party is to sponsor candidates. But their ultimate purpose is to see Ghana as a country progress. Every political party who does not understand that his sole job, his only job, is to see the transformation of Ghana. Because either way you all look at it, when you are in power, at least you have the real power. When you are in opposition, you also have a job. You have a responsibility to use marshal all your forces, whip up public sentiments to oppose policies that you believe will not inure to the benefits of Ghana. So you, the MPP, this is everything that you fought tooth and nail against. Now this man has come and is saying that, oh, I'll throw away levy. And MPP, the same people who were fighting and suddenly became George Foreman and Mike Tyson, stood up and were clapping. I couldn't believe it. Are we serious? So right now, these same MPP people, all the MPs and the communicators who went on all platforms, fighting tooth and nail for e-levy. Right now, you have the temerity. In fact, you have the cockroach audacity to go and face Ghanaians and tell Ghanaians, hey, you forget what I said 2 years ago. That the e-levy is good only because Timothy Bawumia is good. So you don't have minds of your own. You can't think. And that how you think depends on what a man who clearly has no credibility, who has shown that for him, he's ready to say and do anything to empower people. Right? He's telling you that e-levy is good. And so suddenly, but sometimes there's even a bigger problem. The media. See, sometimes when I listen to some of our journalists and how they analyze, I say, come on, today, so right now, everything is our money. Because you can say that people have been bought. So, because of no fuel, you are ready to see this country burn. You are ready to see your children, your grandchildren, your generations not have a place they can comfortably call home. You are ready to see. Well, he said, there's no this. All we have is Ghana. All we have is Ghana. So some of us we are wild. As at the end of the day, I always ask myself, what do I get waking up early in the morning? Something that could be. But what is at stake is too big. It's bigger than any one of us, and we don't seem to see it. Ghanaians have a responsibility. We have, because we will keep on saying politicians take decisions based on their interests. But the truth of the matter is that we all have interests. All of us have an interest. Every Ghanaian ought to have an interest. And our interest is in the country. Our interest is in Ghana. Because if Ghana is strong and well, then my personal interest, and I have the ultimate responsibility over my personal interest. But that personal interest, my personal ambition can best be met when the Ghana environment, the economic environment, the real environment is well. We have a president who clearly has demonstrated that he does not care about us. We have a president who does not care about us. The Galamsey issue is one of the biggest curses, legacies. Is a curse that Ado has left on this country. He refused to, because we had the Minister of Natural Resources, then he refused to reshuffle him. Now he's going, his foot is going. He said he's checked that a long time ago. He told us that, listen, his decision to bring development to an area or not is dependent on whether or not you voted for his MP or not. He is going down as one of the worst, in fact, he's going as the worst president we've had. He's shown us that there's a difference between being a president and being a leader. So he's a president positional, but he's clearly not a leader. He doesn't understand the rudiments of leadership. Because he still doesn't understand that when you're a leader, it's not about you. So this person who has demonstrated to us that he has no clue about leadership is now telling you that my last job is to get Dr. Bawumia elected. That alone, in my opinion, is a massive manifesto as to why we should not vote for Dr. Bawumia. Go into 2024. Ghanaians have the opportunity to do a massive reshuffle. If the MPP were reckless enough and thus missed the opportunity to bring about real change in their party. Because what has gone on has set their party back so many years. Because fundamentally, Ghanaians do not believe that the MPP as a political institution has the interest of the country at heart. And I don't know how long it will take them to change that perception. They missed that opportunity. But we, the people of Ghana, cannot miss that opportunity. See, there are some things that you can forgive. You can forgive genuine incompetence. Because there are some people in life who make genuine mistakes. Like Ten Hag. Ten Hag, when he set up Man U for that calamity, it was not because he was not interested in winning. It was a genuine mistake, and clearly he's shown that he had learned his mistake. Man U came to Anfield and we left 0-0. They could even have won the game. Clearly, it was a genuine mistake. You can forgive genuine mistake. You won't agree, but you can forgive genuine mistake. But you see, what we should never forgive is a deliberate and callous deceitfulness. That we should never forgive that. And so for me, going to 2024, Dr. Bawumia should not even be an option. He should not even be an option. Because what he said, I don't even want to go into that version. I heard people say, oh, the version was this version, that is a tent. And it's going to is that they've given opportunity to transform. He said, your vision is to create a tent to do what? Going to 2024, we should look at giving our executive authority to a leader, somebody who's demonstrated that he has those leadership qualities, who's ready to put the interests of the country ahead of all other interests, who has a clear vision, who has a clear plan. And that leader is Alan John Kojo Chemanten. When you 2024, we should not miss the opportunity. We should vote for Alan Chemanten, and we will see how far Ghana can go when we have a transformational leader at the helm of affairs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's answer this. But they deliberately gave him 400 million. Just 400 million. All the money they've taken, and even with the 400 million, we see one.
Please, let
me give you 400 million.
Let me go through the messages. Let me go through the comments of our listeners.
Factories. To do the plenty factories. And you give NAPCO and Amabu, and you give NAPCO 2.1 billion. Out for the press one, if you fit in press one, we can't count the money.
Thank you. Well, let me do a few comments from those who are watching us on Facebook. Emmanuel Boyko says, Ghanaians, how can you leave the care of the fish into the hands of the cats and turn around to ask the cow about the whereabouts of the fish? Thinko. Then there's Hamza Mohammed, who is also joining us from Pig Farm, says, good morning. Truth be told, in my humble opinion, the reshuffle is an insult and a slap on the face of Ghanaians who said Mr. Kenoforiata has to be sacked. Mr. Kenoforiata is the one still in charge of the finances of this country. And to me, I pity my brother Mohammed Amin Anta. Dr. Bawumia at this moment should be telling Ghanaians where he will continue the construction of the useless cathedral or not. Dr. Bawumia should also, as a matter of urgency, declare his stance on the anti-LGBTQ, because Ghanaians want to know. President Mahama has declared his stance already. The future of this country under this wicked, super incompetent government is pregnant and hopeless, stealing in the name of the Lord and building the house of the Lord on lies. God have mercy. That's Hamza and Pig Farm who said that. Alasan Hamdan in Yohini said, if a coach decides to bring a star player in the match in extra time, that particular coach is a useless one. Whether we reshuffle Kenoforiata or not, it won't change anything. The fact is that Akufo-Addo and Bawumia's government is the most corrupt government in Ghana's history. Now we understand why Bawumia is running away from taking responsibility of mismanaging the economy. Francis Agra says, please tell the NDC to trumpet the monumental achievements of GM. Bawumia is now laying claim to all that GM has done in the area of digitalization, and the NDC is quiet. The silence is so painful. That's Francis Agra. This one from Nana Champon says, good morning. I hope the grace of God. Says, and let me tell you, the so-called reshuffle is to package Dr. Bawumia and nothing else. So these are some of the messages you're sending us via Facebook. There's this one from Magdo in Alajo who says, Senna, the president and the apparatchiks of the MPP are just walking contradictions. They really decry us the e-levy when in opposition, but collateralize it when they won power. Now that the dawn is cast, what is the need for the reshuffle? Operation MPP and Bawumia must go. That is Magdo who sent that from Alajo. A few more messages, comments, and then I'll come to Honorable Delasoa. This one says, great presentation, great submission, great intellectual discourse, no heckling. Alhaji and Alhaji will continue to be the best. Gavuzini sent that. Good morning to you. There's Masol Akpabli, who is joining us from Ayawaso East constituency, says this last minute reshuffle, Akufo-Addo made is so funny, to say the least. And the MPP communicators trying to liken it to a situation in football teams make it more laughable. When they are asked about the reshuffle, they say that it is a good thing because of a team, because if the team is not performing so well, substitution is needed. When a top football club goes into a football season to win the league and players who form part of the starting 11 and performing as a coach, do you wait until the team drops to relegation zone with 9 matches to end the season before you start bringing in players from the bench with the confidence that they will do some magic in the last 9 matches to win the league? They should start preparing their handing over notes, because this year they will be kicked out of power no matter what. Abbas Amogomen of Finso also says, what is the essence of this joke of a reshuffle? After you sat aloof for this minister to finish the country completely, now you want to deceive us with this joke. We are not gullible. Come 2025, they will be called back to come and account for their bad days. Abbas Amogobo sent that. There's also Alhaji Hamza in Pig Farm. Okay. Okay, I think I've gone through that on Facebook. Musa Batwa in Asawase Sesena, when calls were coming for President Akufo-Addo to do reshuffle, he said that they were planning to destabilize his government. Hence, he won't heed to their calls. By this logic, he's destabilizing the MPP and leave. Unfortunately, Ghana has been reduced to a corruption hub. The latest corruption is to discover is an unprecedented $12 million taxpayers' money, which has been wasted through stinking a Japa deal. Before this useless government is kicked out of power, we will be left with nothing in the coffers. There's Tafai here, who says, Senator, let's congratulate those two MPs who rejected the president's appointment. Let me also advise the families of those nominees who are busy jubilating because their family members have been appointed to become ministers to stop, because every ministry in this country has already been looted and the ministries are empty. Okay, Nana says, please take note again. Liverpool has taken over the show. And when the Barcelona, Inter, Miami fans are not happy. Interesting. There's Dennis Akwete who is joining us, says, it appears the MPP is setting agenda for the main opposition. Not long ago, it was Baumia's vision statement, and instead of the NDC sticking to the failure of the MPP government as a whole and the reason they should be booted out of office, the focus has been on Baumia as an individual to suggest that though any government had ever been booted out of office on account of just an individual performer in government. You know, it is about a certain still deaf reshuffle and a misdirected energy. A reshuffle that res ipsa loquitur cannot deliver hope within the given context. When would the NDC unlock the theatrical of the NPP? Dennis, thank you. And let me conclude with this one. Says Mr. Chumbuafo, it is not the case that they are not serious. They are very convinced that most Ghanaians are okay. Not serious. Yes. That's exactly why they are not serious. This Komlan Genya can come and tell us that after
7.5 years of supervising these draws, you are disavowing everything. You are going from factory settings. Are you serious?
Well, Honorable Delasoa, in fact, a lot of her colleagues are on the list that has been submitted. No, good morning.
Apologies for coming late. I had an emergency. I think the reshuffle is too little, too late. Like my colleague said earlier, you've been mismanaging the economy for 7 years, over 7 years. Is it now that you've seen that your ministers are no good and need to be changed? When the calls were coming in that change them, and you said no. Now you have barely 8 months to leave. And then you bring in fresh people at this last minute? How long will it take them to learn the ropes and now start working? It's too little, too late. This president and this MPP government don't regard Ghanaians. They have no respect for Ghanaians. This is my personal view. I mean, they are taking Ghanaians for a ride, not knowing that Ghanaians are now very, very, very savvy politically. And they are not going to forgive them for all that they are doing. Are your own MPs, over 93 of them, asked that Ken Ofori-Atta must go? You didn't hear the call. They were called and threatened, whatever. Now you give Ken Ofori-Atta an even higher position. What are you thinking about Ghanaians? Look, it's all about self-interest. It's not about the country or the economy. They have no care about this country, no care about this economy. If you ask them, the past 7+ years, what have you achieved? They have nothing to show than to commission the projects that President John Dramani Mahama started. That's all they're doing. And even if you look at what Bawumia is saying now, it's all part of things already in the Green Book. And our communicators should take notes. They should also trumpet it. It's part of everything that John Dramani Mahama put in the Green Book. That's what Dr. Bawumia is now saying that he's coming to do. This reshuffle is completely not needed at this last minute. And I don't think it can impact the economy in any way at all. The economy has been going downstream for the longest time. What are these people coming to do? 26 of them at this last minute. You have 8 months to leave power. What are they coming to do? What are they coming to add? Nothing. I like the analogy made that you've been in a football season for a long time. You're losing, and then you have a few games to play. Now you bring in reserve. It won't work. The record is already there. I think it's lack of respect for Ghanaians. These people, all it is to them is a game. Ghanaians, look, let's do it. We don't care. Wants it to serve our interests, and that is it. He doesn't respect the Ghanaian at all. He's living with nothing to show for. And you are attempting to do this thing at this last minute? No. My opinion is, it's too late, it's too little. Ghanaians are aware, they are knowledgeable, they know all about the corruption that is taking place, they know everything, they will not be fooled. I mean, this government, they've done unprecedented things. Look, there's corruption in every government, especially in this part of the world. But the impunity with which this government has done it, you can't compare anything to it. And to have Dr. Bawumia try to distance himself from it, it's laughable. You were the same person priding in some of these things. Now for power, you say you don't know anything about it. I beg. He can't fool anybody. He's only fooling himself and a few people who think they have some self-interest there to protect. Otherwise, come 2024 December, this government is out, whether they like it or not. And the job that President Akufo-Addo has set himself, his last job, so-called, to make sure Dr. Bawumia is president, he won't succeed. Ghanaians, we are watching, we are waiting, and people are seeing that what they are saying will not materialize. It will not help Ghana in any way. It won't move us forward. It will only take us back. So please, this reshuffle, too little, too late, very unnecessary. And I also have my heart for my 2 colleagues who turned down the appointment. They've done very well. They are very brave. Because here we have a president who is very vindictive and won't forgive you for this. But for them to sit back and say, no, we won't accept this, I think they've done very well, and they must be commended. They've also seen the rot, they've seen everything, and they are like, no, we won't be part of this. I do have my heart up for them.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. And I think
everybody wants to get on the route to some. People will stop at Taifa.
Before I come to Mr. Pratt, a few comments from our WhatsApp line. This one is from Anefi Tamale, who says, of course. Okay, says, who is a fool to accept ministerial reshuffle that will make only worsen his woes when they are out of power? Of course, the rot in the finance ministry is unimaginable, and we want fresh people to face the impending accountability instead of the darling Kenu Foyata. And if you send that from Tamale Central Constituency, Solomon in Sawam says, good morning. Okay, thank you very much. He says, when it's okay, Radio Gold is already on air. Continuing. And there's also Kweku Wesley Gon says, why is it that Ghanaians always attribute MPP's over-bloated government to only ministers and deputies? What about the numerous deputy CEOs created at the various government agencies? Examples as mineral commissions, GMPC, among others. Kweku send that from Wesley Gon. Thank you for that message. There's also, this one says, greetings to you and your panelists. God bless you and give you strength to sit and work for 6 days in a week. God strengthen Kwesi Pratt for Ghanaians. I always learn great history of Ghana and politics from him. Thank you very much for sending in that message. Many more coming in. Mohammed in Alhaji says, I want to ask, ever since Albambagwin took over as Speaker of Parliament, he's never given he's never given a chance. He's never been given a chance to act as caretaker president. Why? Why are they afraid of? Or is it intentional?
Stranger things are happening.
This one says, good morning. Joining us from Ho, Francis from Ho says, please, I would like to find out when the MPP will pay NAPCO arrears. Francis sent that from Ho. That's the only thing he said he wants to find out. Martin Amevo says, so my principal concern is of the issue on Alhaji Baomia's pronouncement saying he's a driver's mate. First and foremost, I would like to know if it is legal or illegal for a driver to work with a spare driver who does not own a license. So I particularly have taken my time to ask a mate on what is functioning as a mate or his role as a driver's mate. And the following are his response. As a mate, I am responsible for conducting of all activities on the bus regarding the collection of transportation fare from all passengers during working hours for daily accountability, which implies that even as a mate, he has a requisite role to play, but not to be just shouting, Abekala pass, Abekala pass. Also, he says he's in charge of supervising on when the bus is ready to move, also when and where it is necessary to stop or to move, which implies that he and as the mate, that's Alhaji Baumia, equally can tell the driver, Nanado, when to stop. That is to say, to disagree with a bad policy, which is not favorable. And also capable of telling the driver, President Nanado, to move. That is to say, accepting a policy if it is a good one. Moreover, he is the mate. He as the mate, but also being the head of the economic team, he is to make sure all his interactions with both the driver, that's Nanado, the passengers, the citizens of Ghana, come into good agreement, which favors each and every one on the bus throughout the journey. Thank you very much for that message. There's this one says, so glad to see Brother Kuchumbuafo back in the show. Hope he has come to stay. Yes. This one from Michael Nomanyu from Domiko Abenya. Thank you very much for that message. This is Edouard Mankwairik, who is joining us from Kumasi Boakwa, says, when Ghanaians are demanding for reshuffle, Akufo-Addo told us that those who are saying those unemployed Ghanaians who are seeking for employment. Mr. Pratt?
Well, clearly, this reshuffle or shuffling of ministerial positions has been anticipated for 2 years. And it's important to recognize that virtually every part of Ghana, including some in the leadership of the New Patriotic Party, wanted this reshuffle. Now, why did they want the reshuffle? And there are a number of reasons why this reshuffle was demanded by the people of Ghana. One, part of the idea was to reduce the size of government. Because the size of government had become burdensome. So a lot of people thought that it was time for the president to reshuffle his ministers and take advantage to reduce the numbers. The second reason, just plain incompetence. The economy was running aground, many things were not happening, and there was a general feeling, even within the New Patriotic Party, that new hands may help to correct some of the problems that had bedeviled the economy and bedeviled several sectors of national life. Now, 2 years ago, the president responded to this clamor for reshuffle. And he said it was completely unnecessary, and that he was satisfied with the team that he was working with, and that he had already delivered on the promises that he had made to the people of Ghana. Now, so if 2 years later he's making this reshuffle, is he responding to the demands which were made 2 years ago for the reshuffle, or there could be other reasons for the reshuffle. Now, you would recall that not too long ago, somebody described the president as a lame duck president, and he took serious offense and said that he would be in control until the very last day of his term. I hope you remember. Is it possible that all of this is to show that he's in control? Is this possible? I don't know. Now, with regards to those who advocated that there was a need for a reshuffle to reduce the numbers of government, clearly this reshuffle is not in response to that. Because the size of government has not been reduced at all. So this cannot be a response to that. Then if you look at those who wanted changes, because of the level of competence in the administration, it's also obvious that this is not a response to that. Okay. Because one of the persons that many people, including members of the New Patriotic Party, felt had to go because of incompetence was the finance minister. Now he's been elevated, to a glorious position. He's not just senior presidential advisor on finance and the economy. He is also a presidential special envoy on virtually all international transactions. And I'm wondering, special envoy? So he works directly for the president when it comes to international transactions. The president's messenger. The president's direct extension when it comes to international transactions. Now I'm wondering, so this new Minister of Finance, are we being told that he doesn't have the competence to deal with international transactions? Is that what we're being told? And if he doesn't have the competence to deal with international transactions, why make him Minister of Finance? I don't know. I'm just confused, as many Ghanaians are. Now, there are some things which are very interesting about this reshuffle. And since the reshuffle took place, even leading members of the New Patriotic Party have spoken out. Two of those are the immediate past national chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Freddie Wasmau-Blay. And he's saying that this reshuffle could have made sense, could have made some impact if it had happened 2 years ago. And then with virtually 8 or 9 months to get to the finishing line, this reshuffle has no merit. You understand? Then there is Mr. Kodo Mpienim, who was Minister of Presidential Affairs under President Kufuor, and Minister of Presidential Affairs and Chief of Staff. He has made virtually the same comment, that it is too late in the day for this reshuffle to make any impact. Now, Sana, there are about 17 ministers who may have to go for parliamentary vetting. And it is possible, based on their performance, and if the so-called minority members of parliament are diligent in their work, they haven't been diligent in their work over a long period of time, especially when it comes to...
Don't be unfair to us.
I'm being very fair. I'm being very fair. I think I've been too fair to the so-called minority in parliament. Listen, after one vetting exercise, and madam, you can deny it if I'm wrong, I heard minority MP say that, look, we actually voted for this ministerial nominee because she comes from our region. How reckless can they be? Not just reckless, foolish. Comes from our region. Is that how to approve ministers? And then the one which even killed me completely was when some minority MP said that some particular nominee had been good to them. Good to them. What does that mean? Good to them. Amazing. So if they are diligent with their work, if they do their work properly, this vetting process of 17 persons can take anything from 2 months to 3 months. Okay? Now, after they have been vetted, they now have to go through the process of acclimatizing, knowing their the ministries to which they've been posted, and so on. That takes another time. By the time they begin to sit down on their seats, and mind you, the vast majority of them are also contesting for parliamentary elections. So they now have to rush to the constituencies to go and campaign. They can't do nothing. As they say in local parlance, they can't do foco. You understand? I mean, just the timelines shows that they can't do anything. So Freddie Blair was right, Kodon Pienim was right, and I'm sure all those who are skeptical about how they're going to transform things must be right. So why this reshuffle at this time? It is possible that once again, the president is engaged in cosmetics. You know, and cosmetics can only be meant to deceive. You understand? Create the impression that something is happening when indeed nothing is happening. And to be honest with you, this reshuffle, sometimes I struggle to choose my words, but this reshuffle appears to be absolutely meaningless. There's another aspect which is interesting. If you read the 1992 Constitution, and happily lawyer is here, the 1992 Constitution says that deputy ministers ought to be chosen in consultation with sitting ministers. Now, take the Minister of Information. The minister has been kicked out or sent to another ministry, transferred to another ministry, and a deputy has been appointed. Who did the president consult in appointing that deputy? Is that in sync with the provisions of the 1992 Constitution or not? There's an issue which is going to come up. You understand? Now, yesterday, I heard a spokesperson of the New Patriotic Party say that the Constitution only suggests that the president may consult the minister. But you see, nothing is put in the Constitution for nothing. If the Constitution found it necessary to suggest consultation with the deputy minister, there ought to be a reason for that suggestion. And it cannot be thrown away just like that. So that's an issue. Now, the other thing which is very important in examining this reshuffle is the role of Vice President, His Excellency Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
The former boys brigade.
Was he involved? He is promising us that if he becomes president, he will reduce the number of ministers to 50. Now, why should we wait till he becomes president? He's part of the presidency. So how come that this great idea of reducing the number of ministers to 50 does not find expression in this reshuffle? Is he going to argue that he's an aplanke? Now, you see, that whole argument that he's only the assistant headmistress, is an aplanke, and so on, it's very damaging to him. Now, he goes to cabinet meetings. He consults with the president and so on. Now, if his ideas are not being implemented, it may also be an indication of his incapacity to convince his colleagues. He doesn't have the facts. He doesn't have the language to convince his colleagues to toe his line. And if he cannot convince his own cabinet to toe his line, who else is he going to convince? Because as president, he's going to be representing this country in many fora. You understand? So if in his own cabinet, for 7 years, he has failed to convince his cabinet to come along with him, then there's a huge problem. Now, it is even worse if you come to consider the fact that he is an economist, they say. He's an economist, they say. On one area where his ideas have not shown at all, manifested at all, is the area of the economy. So with a PhD in economics, he still cannot convince his colleagues to come along with him. Wow, something is wrong. Something is wrong. You understand? So if Dr. Bawumia today is going to argue that this reshuffle, he was not involved, he was not considered relevant enough to be consulted, that's another huge problem. His own party, his own government don't think that he has anything to offer. Now, if they considered him relevant enough to be consulted, and he failed to persuade his boss, party, and cabinet that there was the need to reduce the size of government, that's also a huge blow to himself. And I sit back and I ask, why is this man inflicting pain on himself? Why is he throwing blows at himself and his ambition all the time? Anytime he opens his mouth, foul. Why? Now, I read Dr. Atta Kwabena Kennedy's evaluation of some of the claims that the vice president has made. I dare not repeat some of the things that Atta Kennedy said. I dare not. But mind you, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the president, His Excellency, some time ago, when he was looking for a campaign manager, he looked around the whole country, more than 30 million of us, and he came to the conclusion that the best person to manage his campaign was Dr. Atta Kwabena Kennedy. So what Kennedy says must have value, must have weight, at least on the basis of the judgment of the current president. Go and read what he has written. Senna, I promised on this show, I think 2 weeks ago, that I would find the doctoral thesis of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
You should have told me, I brought it to you. I have it.
Well, don't worry, I have it. And when I find it, I will publish it. Luckily, I have it. And I think that people should read his doctoral thesis. So when they hear Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, when they read the thesis, they will find how some academics decided to give him a PhD. His thesis explains everything. And I hope that people will find time to read his doctoral thesis. I finish.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, if you just join us, the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. We are live from the Dr. Osajifo Kwame Nkrumah studios here at Pan African Television. Don't forget, we are live on Radio Gold, and many other affiliate radio stations. Of course, we're just talking about President Akufo-Addo's reshuffle. I've been reading the messages you've been sending, to comments you've been sharing on this issue. This is Kim Farouk on Facebook. Taking the MPP government out of the Flagstaff House and dumping them in the bushes, a mass come December 7th is a communal labor power, and all well-meaning Ghanaians who have our dear nation at heart must get involved. We need to rescue the country. Walai Jembeba, that's what he says, and continues to say, injury time, ministerial reshuffle, too late. It will make no impact. The mess created by Nanado's visionless governance is gargantua, and nothing can save them from being booted out from the Flagstaff House come December 7th. They must go home, learn their lessons, and come back. Maybe 50 years' time, when this crop of old corrupt men, they have been sent to account to their maker. You say Lushabu says, Sana, we shouldn't forget that the MPP said they are going to win the election with a strategy. This may be one of them, because strategies are confusing. The NDC must be smart. That Seidu Shabu who sent that one, Davisena sends a message. She says, how can President Nanado reshuffle ministers and allocate 8 ministers and deputies to the northern region alone when other regions don't have even one? They think this will earn them more votes there. This will not change anything in their favor. Davisena sent that message. This one says, personally, I don't have problem with Baumia. Rather, the Ghanaians that still cannot see for themselves. Razak sent that from Esikuma, and he's wondering why these days he doesn't hear Ghana as a middle-income country. Why? There's some more on our Facebook number. Alan from Shama says, I have just a simple sentence for Dr. Baumia. Does he really know that he is living in Ghana? Thank you very much for that message. This one from Ibn Kabir from Ulojirapa, who says, please, the recent reshuffling of some ministers has limited benefits to the economy, except 1, a slap in the face of the Ghanaians to appear as though a listening government, all for political expediency. 2, a mere set of party people into new portfolios for salaries without any input except an implementation of economic policies, just a continuation at this latter time of the election year. Oh, Ghana. Eben, thank you for that message. There's some more messages. This one saying, I don't think this is the time for the NDC as a political party and Ghana as a country to be discussing this useless injury time reshuffle. Senate, from Monday, MPP and Baumia are going to set a huge agenda on all media landscape. That Baumia Digital Man is going to launch another digital app just to create an environment or to create attention so that Ghanaians will forget John Mahama, the visionary 24-hour economy. Please, I'm urging all NDC executives and sympathizers to focus on John Mahama's 24-hour economy. Thank you very much for that message. Mohammed, okay. There's more. This one says, great presentation by Uncle Kwesi Pratt. He has done a good service to the minority. The minority will pass all of them again. Madame Dela, please don't defend what Uncle Kwesi raised against the minority. Madame Dela, you people have to prove us wrong. In this new vetting. Uncle Kwesi, you are great. Park Kwesi sent that from Dakoman. There's also this one which says, Pong from Tamale says, President Nanado and his vice have exhibited their incompetence, and instead of blowing their heads in shame, bowing their heads in shame, they are exposing themselves more. Ghanaians are not foolish. We are patiently waiting for 7 December 2024. Great Uncle Kwesi for me is my role model. Margaret Pong sent that from Tamale. This one says, they always come. Your message is not clear and difficult to read. This one says, the MPP government has woefully destroyed the country in every aspect of governance. Everything has completely failed. Politicians have failed to provide steady employment to many Ghanaians willing and ready to work. The MPP government came with flamboyant suit and tie coupled with big grammar, and this is our current situation. Chia, we have to take a break. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk running mates. This is the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. Stay tuned.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer.
And welcome back to the Mother of All Talk Shows, live on Pan-African Television, also live on radio, on Radio Gold 90.5 FM. We have to discuss the matter of running mates. And of course, there are interesting names coming up in both parties, the major parties. I'll start with Mr. Kujochu Mboafo again. This time around, I have an hour, so you have 10 minutes on this particular topic.
What do you want me to say? You're going to get me into trouble. Anyway, listen. No, I'm not. I'm not afraid of anything. You know, I'm a dead goat. So anyway, let me be very simple, very direct when it comes to the NDC. For me, if I were to be advising President Mahama on who to choose as his vice presidential candidate, I would simply tell him to choose Professor Nana again. Reason is very simple. If you remove her, you are going to give the MPP a topic that they are going to discuss and then turn it into the news. If you remove her, what explanation are we going to give to the women of this country who are encouraged that a major party has chosen? I'm not talking about Pakwesi Ndum choosing a woman. I'm talking about one of the two major parties who are likely to win the election actually having chosen a woman. Because we, the men, have destroyed this country. The truth of the matter is that we, the men, we have destroyed this country. And so, maybe if we had a policy that you should choose a woman as a vice presidential candidate so that when you are doing something stupid, she can knock you on the head like our mothers used to do and tell you, maybe would have been a better place. Because I can bet you that if Akufo-Addo had a woman as his vice president, we won't be where we are. Because, madam, our mothers, I don't want to go another level. You know something? Our mothers have a way of counseling us. You're a mother. You have a way of counseling your sons and your husband.
A woman.
But you know what? I don't want to go into that. But let's leave her there. She's also trying to become vice president to Baumia. But I'm saying that women have shown. We the men, we have children with women, we leave them. And the children grow up. It's not the money, it is how they are brought up. My experience in life, I think women have a certain, I think it's genotypic, a certain way of counseling you that you tend to, even if you don't agree, you will think again. Maybe in thinking again, you will change your mind about some of the things that you are doing. I have a bias for Auntie Nana. Yeah, maybe because I know her. That's my bias. And I am not hiding the bias. But I also think that she's very accomplished. First woman vice chancellor. The list goes on and on and on and on. I don't need to introduce her here. What she did at the education ministry is still sitting there. After what Napo came to destroy, pretend like he didn't know she was there, all the things that they did there since she left the ministry, they haven't done anything. To quote Kwesi, they have done FOCO. They destroyed this country. Look at what is going on now in our education. The children are going to school like rainbow. There's indigo class, a violet class, blue class. The children go to school for 3 weeks, then they come home and sit at home for 3 months. Right? As we speak now, we have reintroduced schools under trees and going to school in cycles. So, for me, Professor Nana's record in government, and mind you, she was an unwilling person to come into government. I know the antecedents which went into her even accepting to be a minister. And this is what she did. So, as vice president, I think what she brings to the table is great counsel, humility, and make no mistake, she is as sharp as a Santoku knife. There's no discussion you can have with her. There is no discussion you can have with her. The last time I met her, she asked me, "You've lost weight, what happened to you?" And I said, "Oh, I haven't been well." Then she immediately asked me, "Are you diabetic?" And I said, "Yes." And then she sat me down and gave me a whole raft of things that I should and shouldn't be doing. That is how sharp she is. I'm talking not too long ago. She comes to the table with knowledge, experience, and a certain purity and honesty that this country needs. As for the other people, you know that as we speak now, right? Opokunyina wants to be vice president. The same person who couldn't build a cathedral, now he wants to be vice president. And tweeting about unnecessary tweets. I don't know who put him on Twitter. Right? Master, where do you suffer? Do you suffer? Don't go and embarrass yourself by aligning yourself with this criminal lot. As Napo, who recently got married, because the vice president must have a wife. Did you see the wedding pictures? Those oily wedding pictures. The wedding pictures that look like none of them, the bride and the bridegroom were not interested in the wedding. Did you see it? Did you see happily ever after in those pictures? Right? And then there's Frema, who has all of a sudden now become prominent everywhere she's there. Whether it is cookathon, buffathon, sleepathon, she's everywhere. Every ton or hobby. Right? And then who else? Who else? Named them. I've named the rest of them. They are busy undermining each other. Yeah, he too. Mr. Stem. He too. The man claims he's doctor this, doctor that. Nobody knows where he went to school. Another scam artist. Right? We have to.
What about those who are also interested in the NDC ticket? Why are you not mentioning them?
Kwesi, I have told you several times that I will never stand outside my house and lob a grenade into my house.
Oh, okay.
It's not if you're a politician, you shouldn't stand outside your house and cock a grenade and throw. There may be geriatrics in your house. No, I don't do that. I have told you that Professor Nana, in my opinion, so are the other people, I'm not talking about them. They are not important. These other people are doing everything. By the time they are done, they will introduce another stealer to come and re-steal what they haven't stolen. Who, Nyame Ampata, in 7 years, they will come and tell us that what Bawumia did, he didn't know anything about what Bawumia was doing. Bawumia, he doesn't even need the vice president. He should be his own vice president. Seeing that he didn't know what he did when he was vice president, he should be his own vice president. But the state of play as we have in this government right now is that there are people who are jostling to occupy a certain spot so that they can go and continue the criminality that has been going on. And let me give Uncle Kwesi his due. In our party too, the same thing is going on. But my to an extent, what those other people are seeking is the vice presidency, but not necessarily to continue with any draws, because there hasn't been any draws that we have engaged in that way. So the vice presidential stakes are going to be interesting, but at the end of the day, no vice president has his face or her face on the ticket. People go out there, they go and vote for the person who is a flag bearer. The vice presidential candidate, I don't have any empirical evidence as to whether it actually brings anything to the table or not. Maybe it does. Some researchers will tell you it does, and it complements the person. But at the end of the day, it's the candidate that we go and vote for. So that's my take on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is Jacomin Koforido who says the new finance minister also have problems with Foforiata, like what they did to Martin Amido. Lara.
So my starting point on this vice president will be to quote Amos 3:3. Amos 3:3 says that how can two people work together unless they agree? I think that should be the premise. How can two people work together unless they agree? Now, when you read our constitution also about the vice president, it says or gives the vice president or put the vice president in certain positions. That means that when the vice president is being chosen, a lot of critical thought has to be had. Also based on the experience we've had in this country. So the constitution says that one, the president must designate his vice president before the election. 2, the constitution says that the qualification, the set of qualifications that applies to who becomes president also applies to the vice president. 3, the constitution says that when the president is not around, then the vice president shall act as president. 4, if the president dies or can't be president permanently, as in within his term, then the vice president will act as president. Now, these are all the constitution. In our experience as a country, as in the Fourth Republic, we've seen he kicked my groin. We also it. We've seen the sad incident, I think on July 24th, 2012, when President Professor Tamils passed, and His Excellency John became president. And we are witnessing now what His Excellency Dr. Bamia is saying about his role as vice president. That's elicited a lot of debates in this country. So, for me, I take the vice presidential position very, very seriously, because it is as important as the president itself, because when the president isn't around, he's going to act as president. And 2, because it's a joint ticket, then as in the thinking by the framers of the constitution that the vice president should be somebody who at least the president would think through issues with and then drive the Ghana agenda. You understand? So even though in the mind of the framers of the constitution, when we are voting for the president, we are actually also voting for the vice president. The fact of the matter is that when we are voting, our sole consideration is with the president. So really, the choice is really not Ghanaian's choice, even though he's deemed to be voted by us. We really, because when we are voting, our focus is on the president itself, the presidential candidate itself. So they have vice presidents chosen. Because the presidents usually, and based on our experience, are usually sponsored by political parties. Now, if the presidents are sponsored by political parties and 2024, we'll have the first independent candidate as president. So now, when he's also deciding on who will become his vice president, it means that a lot of deep thinking must go through. And I said, how can two people work together unless they agree? So when the political parties, I've seen my brother here give a fine manifesto as to why he thinks Professor Jinana should be there. But clearly, this is not a decision that ought to be just the decision of the candidate. It has to also be the decision of the party who's going to sponsor the candidate. So it's not a decision that should be taken like, we don't want a situation where any vice president at all can have the cockroach audacity to attempt to do what, or to tell us what His Excellency Dr. Bawumia is saying. You understand? Because, like I'm saying, the presidential, the term is like a journey. It's a journey to a certain end. How can you tell me that you agree to undertake a journey and you do not believe in the final destination of the so-called journey that you were asked to partake in? We shouldn't tolerate any deceit anymore. So when the political parties are deciding together with their presidential candidates who to make their running mate, they must make sure that having the interest of Ghana at heart, the candidate is a candidate that, first of all, represents, believes in, and is committed to undertake the kind of program they think will benefit the country. Because we should not tolerate a situation where the vice president can come years after and attempt to tell us that, oh, everything, as my brother said, will disavow all the critical steps that his president undertook. Secondly, because he can potentially be president, and I'm saying His Excellency John Mahama became president after the sad passing of, so there must be somebody who can be president, and so the same measure we use in choosing who potentially can be president, that same measure should be applied on the vice president. Sadly, I think the NPP as a party flubbed its lines in making that choice. Because clearly, when you consider everything that happened during their primaries, their consideration wasn't what is in the best interest of the country. Maybe they have a chance at redemption. They should attempt in making that decision together with the president, insist that their choice is a choice that will represent the interest of this country. And that's the problem. Because then that choice will be a choice that will depart in terms of values and visions from the vice president. You understand? So it's we find ourselves in a very difficult place. As in, I don't believe that the MEP and Mahmoud Bawumia is capable of having the right considerations in deciding who their vice presidential candidate is. Anyway, I've already asked that even the presidential, he shouldn't even be considered, because he demonstrated that he can't do the job. But at least for all the others, when we are voting, the people are voting, we should look critically at who the co-pilot is. The vice president isn't an aplanking position. We should forget about what the vice, or as in there. It's so sad. The vice president was very reckless with that statement. The vice president isn't an aplanking position. It is more akin to a co-pilot. So, and if it's akin to a co-pilot, then when we are voting for our president, we should also have serious consideration for who his vice president is. Indeed, I think we would understand the decision-making abilities of the president and his party based on the choices and the reasons they give us as to why they are choosing whoever they are choosing as their vice presidential candidate. See, the days of, I think that, and this to end, the days of that sad statement that, oh, I belong to this political party, and even if they bring a monkey, they are going to vote for the person, should end. As we've done that kind of politics for a very long time. It's not taking our country anywhere. You understand? The intention of the framers of the Constitution, when they created the position of the president, was that we are going to put the executive office into the hand of an individual, not a political party. So we, the citizens of Ghana, when we are going to vote, we should look critically at the character of the president, but also we must also look critically at the character, the mindset, the value set, the competency of who his vice presidential candidate is. Because when we make the wrong choice, we survived his kidney growing. You understand? I don't know how we will survive this sad case of aplanquism. You understand? Maybe, if we do not make that right choice, if we do not consider critically the person, the character, the competencies, you understand, the commitment levels of the president and his vice president, maybe we won't have the chance to correct things. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I really think that this matter of aplanque, maybe out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth has spoken. Maybe the man really is doing Kanish, Fadama Johnson, you know, make a stop. That is what he really is doing.
It is.
Because if you tell me that you are the head of the economic management team, you have done this, and you say you couldn't do anything about it, you are telling us that somebody was above you. And we all know that Ken Oforiatta was above you. So speak it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Before I come to Honorable Sowa, this is Idi Gideon Montari who says, the less we talk about the afterthought reshuffle by Nanado, the better for us. They are simply clueless, inept, disastrous as leaders and so power drunk. The useless and unplanned reshuffle is geared towards the 2024 general election to ensure they break the eight. A vote for any MPP candidate is an extension of the Achim Mafia's rule on the cover for the Ross cause. Ghana is at the crossroads. This one is from Richard Glaga, who says, good morning, Senator. If Dr. Baumia said he's a driver's mate and he's behaving like this, please, I don't think he can be a good driver in the future, because you are a mate and you can load a car to Kumasi and your master comes and takes the car that you have loaded, which is supposed to go to Kumasi, and you're in the car and you keep quiet for your driver to take the passengers to Ho before you bring them back to Kumasi. I see. What a wonderful and useless mate this is. This is Richard who sent that one. Let me say a big thank you to Shine FM in Akachi. They are on 96.9. So we are live on Shine FM in Akachi. We are live on Hills FM in Adakolo on 91.7. Yawasi Radio in Ketekrachi on 89.7. Sela Radio Dabala is on 97.1. Diamond FM Tamale on 93.7. Bar Radio Yendio 106.5. Radio Kitawan Sabobo on 95.7, Benya FM Elmina 105.7, Global FM 105.1 in Ho, Zeps FM 95.9 in Zabila, True FM 92.5 in Adeso, Lamara FM 89.1 in Tripoli, Boem 88.7 FM in Jessica, and Lukusi FM is on 96.1 is at Vergolokwati, Tyne FM is on 90.9, and Sekpele FM 104.3 in Likwe, Todome. Honorable Sowa.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And you are also live on Akpini Radio in Kpando.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I think, let me touch a bit on this mate issue. I think Dr. Baumia and the president are completely out of touch with the reality. The reason I say that is I've used Trotro before in the past. And the responsibility of the mate is even greater than that of the driver, in the sense that the mate decides where you're going, the mate collects the money, the mate will tell the driver what to do, stop, go, slow down, somebody's getting down. The mate directs the driver practically throughout the journey. It's not like a mate in Europe. I think that's where they are missing it. The mate in Europe just stands there and collects the money. The mate in Ghana has a huge responsibility, which Dr. Baumia is out of touch with. I think they all lived in Europe, and they don't know the system in Ghana. So what he's saying is completely out of touch with the reality on the ground. The mate has a lot of power. Now, coming back to the running mate issue, I want to agree with my brother here that if I had to recommend to the NDC party, I'd say still go with Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. Not because she's a woman, I won't go that tangent. But you know, we should go past choosing running mates principally just because maybe I'm an Akan. If I have an Ewe running mate, it will balance. I'm a Muslim. If I have a Christian running mate, it will balance. We should go beyond that. We should look at what the person brings on board, what the person's experience is, what the person will do in case the president is not there. Rather than just this thing of I'm a Muslim, let me choose a Christian running mate. That is what has cost this MPP government where they are now. I think we should go beyond that. Look for the people and what they bring to the table. And that's why I'll say that I agree with him that Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman should be the running mate for President John Dramani Mahama, because she has the experience. She has what it takes. She's not just going to be a mate in the sense of the way Dr. Bawumia describes it. She brings to the table what can take the country forward. She's demonstrated that before, being the Minister of Education for the country. She's run a whole institution, a very important institution. So this woman has the experience. You know, she's not somebody who was just chosen from somewhere because she can add up to the votes from the central region. If you look at it, central region votes didn't add up anything. But that doesn't mean she doesn't have the capability to be the running mate to President John Dramani Mahama. So we should move from this placing people, round people in square pegs and round holes and stuff like that. It's costing this nation a lot. Concerning the MPP, probably the same thinking will apply. I'm a Muslim, let me look for a Christian. And whoever Christian accepts to be a running mate to Dr. Bawumia, I beg, that person needs to be born again. Because you can't, he quoted Amos, how can two work together unless they agree? This man is, I don't know how to describe him. The man can sit down, look Ghanaians in the face and lie without an afterthought. And people who know sat in that meeting listening to him and knew he was lying. This is the man you want to partner with? You should be running away from him. Even if he chooses you, you should say, no, thank you, but I can't accept it. That's seriously where we are at as a nation. We're looking for who can take the nation forward, who can develop this nation. Look, President Mahama has demonstrated that he can move this nation forward, and very quickly. He came with nothing. He was able to do so much with the little he had. What have these people done? With the many they had, nothing. People are building retirement homes outside this country. Why are they not building retirement homes in Ghana? Because they know they've messed up the country. Why are they seeking to go and live elsewhere when Ghana is here? We should look for running mates who are experienced, who can do the job, who will not talk later and say that they knew nothing about what was going on and they were just stooges for the president. That shouldn't be the case at all. We should look for who can do the job, whether a woman or a man, who can do the job. And I think Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, in my opinion, can do the job. She's demonstrated that. Why do we need to go and look for somebody else? No. My thinking is that let her continue. Thank you, Senna.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable. This is Dennis Akwete. Says, on the question of running mate, I'm convinced of one thing. If JM changes Prof. Jane, then that decision will be that of Prof. Jane for some good reason and not that of JM. And the replacement must be another competent woman. In short, it would not make sense for JM to change Prof. Jane when it was obvious that their combination is what for the first time gave us a hung parliament, which parliament failed to make good use of the collective interest. I know some NDC people are only thinking about succession plan and how Prof. Jane may not be in the picture going to the future because of her age, but that may not be altruistic in character given Ghana's situation at the moment. Mr. Pratt?
Well, you know, I don't know how to put it, you know, and I'm trying very hard to be mild. Look, I cannot for one moment understand this delay in announcing running mates and the madness and the rigmarole around choosing running mates. What will these presidential candidates take us for? Are you telling me that President John Mahama's decision to run for president was made yesterday? Are you telling me that? Now, when he was making the decision to run for president again, Didn't he know that he was going to go with a running mate? Is he now looking for running mate? My goodness, I can't understand this. And Baumia, when did he decide to run for president when Nado leaves? Yesterday. And they are keeping us, on every now and then some new story. Every now and then something about running mate. My friends, choose your running mates now and let's get on with it. What's this useless wait? Sana, I can't understand. What is so difficult about choosing a running mate? That should take all this time, that there should be all this drama around it and so on. What is the problem? Now listen, people who want to be president must be decisive. They must be able to take decisions in the nick of time. What these presidential candidates are telling us is that it is very difficult for them to make decisions. And if that is the case, this country is doomed. They can't even choose their running mate. What choices can they make about the economy? So I'm completely disgusted by this rigmarole, not knowing what to do and creating all this mess. All of the presidential candidates, not one, all of them are behaving the same way. And I'm completely disgusted by this behavior. They can't take decisions, and they expect us to have confidence in them. And for me, the worst part is what the Honorable Member of Parliament has described. I am from Ashanti region, so I should be vice president. I am from the northern region, so I should get that. I am from western region, so I should get that. Are we mad? We must understand that the choice of running mate is about resolving the concrete problems that confront Ghana's people. If you go and choose a running mate from the Volta region, does that automatically lead to lowering inflation? If you go and choose a running mate from the Bo-Ahafo region, what problem does that solve? So this regionalism is nonsensical, it is foolish, it is populist, it makes no sense. Choice of running mate on the basis of where they come from, tribe and so on. Does it make sense to you? It is foolish. You go and choose somebody from the Volta region, so what? Does that take you out of the IMF program? Does that reduce the stock of the national debt? You go and take somebody from Bumpurugu. How does that help you? How does that help the country? So one of the things we must be emphasizing is competence. Competence. Who can help us solve the concrete problems that faces Ghana today? Who has the answers? Who has the track record? These are the issues. We have all been paying lip service to our commitment to gender equality over many years. Lip service. Anytime a woman is put somewhere, we connive, we conspire, we do all kinds of things, we go and uproot her. And then we come and say we are committed to gender equality. Look, I don't think, and I'm honest about it, that all women are good. There are women who are thieves. There are women who are murderers. There are women who do all kinds of things. But also there are good women too. There are bad women and good women. In much the same way that there are good men and bad men. I hope you understand what I'm saying. And I think that our commitment to gender equality must not be by lip service alone. We need to take concrete actions in order to do that. You understand? If you ask me, if this choice of running mate delays again, I will make up my mind about these presidential candidates. They can't decide. They have no capacity to decide simple things like running mate. How can they have capacity to decide major policy issues. The president declares war. Do you know that? If you're a president, it comes to a point where you have to say that, look, our soldiers should go and fight. Now, if you cannot choose your running mate in good time, and so on, when it comes to the declaration of war, how are you going to perform? Presidents are so powerful that they actually sometimes play God. They decide who should live and who should die. Every president has the capacity to sign the death warrant for people to be killed. Do you know that? Presidents, they can sign your death warrant, you'll be killed. One time. They can also, even when the courts have convicted you and sentenced you to death, presidents can say no. Presidents are supposed to be playing God. I mean, and if you decide who should live and who should not live, are you not playing God? Huh? So if you have this enormous power, we are going to give you this enormous power, and it takes you 1 year to decide who your running mate should be, then there's a problem with you. If you're going to give you all of this power, and we have allowed this thing to fester to the extent that, and please, I beg you, excuse my language, today I'm struggling to find appropriate language. Any idiot gets up and says I'm the best qualified to be running mate because I was born in Bonn. Any idiot. And it is because the presidential candidates have allowed this to fester. Some of the names, you know them, I don't want to mention them. Mother, you hear the name, and then you have but this one too, Abba, how? This one too, where so? Listen, I'm being very calm. I mean, this running mate thing, I'm being very calm. Now, I'm being very calm. But nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Nonsense. And the one that kills me, cry, is the religious thing. Look, Kenneth Foriata may have failed in many things. I don't know. But he has succeeded in one thing. Kenneth Foriata, within the last 7 years, has taught us that Bible recitations do not solve economic problems.
Yeah.
That's his success. Huge success. He may have failed in everything, but has succeeded in teaching us that sanctimonious looks and Bible recitations do not solve concrete economic problems. And we should be learning that lesson and using that lesson in our march forward. Christian Muslim ticket. And so what? What does it bring? Or Muslim ticket. And so what? Check our history, check the record. The Eid al-Fitr festival became a national holiday when both president and vice presidents were Christians.
Yeah.
Check. Check. Many of the gains that the Muslim community has had in our country happened when both vice president and president were Christians. I'm not saying that means that we should always have Christians as president and vice president. We could have Muslim too as president and vice president. Yeah. We should be looking at output. Yeah. Look, today we are talking Christian, Muslim, and so on. Alhaji Alhaji, when he was campaigning to be vice president, one of the things he said was that Muslims would have another Muslim in the Flagstaff house if he was voted for. Is that not what he said? Since being in the Flagstaff house, what have been the gains that Muslims have had? As we sit here, the Al-Aqsa Mosque is being bombed. And his government is saying that it stands firmly with Israel. Alright? The Al-Aqsa Mosque is being bombed. And the government in which he, a Muslim, is saying that they stand firmly with Israel. Firmly. Not just stand with Israel, firmly with Israel. And there are many, many Christians around the world who are standing up and saying this genocide against the Palestinian people must stop. There are many Christians around the world who are standing up and saying that, look, bombing of mosques should stop and so on. What has Alhaji Bawumia said about the situation in Palestine? I dare him to open his mouth about Palestine. I dare him to open his mouth about the destruction of mosques in Palestine. Don't waste our time. And President Mahama, look, this your long delay is serving no purpose but just generating confusion after confusion. This is your long delay. Who is it benefit? It's not benefiting you. It's not benefiting the NDC. It's not benefiting Ghana. It's not benefiting anybody. The earlier President John Mahama came and announced his running mate, the better it will be for this country. So stop wasting our time.
Thank you.
I wanted to say he should exercise a bit of patience. I don't think it's for lack of courage to announce. I think there are seasons and times for everything. And I don't think it will be too long when President John Dramani Mahama will announce the running mate. So it's not, I mean, I've heard people, even on the floor of Parliament, the opposition keep asking, you were elected 7 months ago, why have you still not chosen your running mate? As if it's any of their business. But everybody is keeping their cards close to their chest. And it's times and seasons, and not very long. Mr. Pratt, you hear of a running mate.
That's what I mean, for the whole of Ghana. I mean, nobody loves this confusion. Every day, new running mates. And this thing is dividing us.
Yes.
There's some people who are saying that, look, if the running mate doesn't come for the Volta region, the people of the Volta region should not vote for him. They shouldn't vote for him. What stupidity is that? And then some say, oh, Ashanti, we have to break the MPP hold in Ashanti, so it must be an Ashanti. What nonsense is that? And then some people say, oh, if the person doesn't come from Central region will not vote. What rubbish is that? The constitution of the party and the constitution of Ghana says that the presidential candidate has the power to choose the running mate. You should leave the presidential candidate to choose his running mate and stop this useless pressure. Stop this useless pressure. Completely useless pressure. What is this? And I heard somebody who calls himself an elder of the party saying that for him is waiting. If Mahama chooses the running mate and it's not his choice, something will happen. Nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. Stop this rubbish.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
I will not lob a grenade into my own house.
Who is launching the grenade?
Tell when you start outside your whole family house and you throw a grenade, you injure your relatives.
Who is launching the grenade?
Well, let me do just a few comments. A few comments coming in on this matter. This one says, Prof. Nana is simply the best, should not be changed. Tell Kojo that they should be ringing the alarm bell still. It's all over. I'm not sure MPP needs our votes. They have something in mind.
It's not important.
No, it's not.
The campaign for Professor Nana it's not important. The president should choose his running mate and let's move on. What is this? Bawumia should choose his. Every presidential candidate should choose their running mate and let's move on. No campaign. The region where they come from is not important. Their religion is not important. Have you been following this research by Global Info Analytics? Have you been following it?
Yes.
Have you been following it?
Yes,
what are you learning from that research? CDD, when they do that, don't you read? All kinds of ignorant, selfish, self-seeking people have jumped onto the political scene and are behaving in a very repugnant manner.
Thank you. I have a few minutes. I have about 15 minutes more to go.
What kills me are the threats.
It looks like you have a lot more to say than you are saying.
I told you.
Anyway,
well, 15 the threats are annoying.
Yes.
The threats are so annoying.
A brave man is the one who knows when to run.
I see. Well, 15 minutes more to go. I have to do one more issue. The one last issue on the threats to in fact, that place has been bombed out of anything. If you see the whole Gaza Strip, this is, I don't know. Let me start with you. on the matter of the threat of Israel to just continue the assault?
We have 3 minutes. I think it's a very straightforward issue. I think what Israel is doing to Palestine, the innocent people of Palestine, all in the name of fighting Hamas, the audacity is a serious, as in, puts the UN, puts the international community, puts all of us in a very bad light. As in, we wrote the UN Charter and we want peace and we respect sovereignty and respect this. So for all of us, so when I say all of us, for the subjects of international community to sit down and allow what is happening in Palestine to happen. It's the reason why Israel have the courage to say that we'll continue bombing. It's unbelievable. And you see, if the UN sit down and nothing is done, I wonder whether or not they'll have the courage to call any other country to order. Should they flaunt basic principles of international law this way? Because you sit down, nothing is done. When the whole structure, the fact that people can veto, as in feel they can veto, puts the whole structure of international community in question. I mean, it's very sad, and we all don't have been. So for me personally, I want to condemn in no uncertain terms what Israel is doing in Palestine, and also condemn the UN, international community, condemn our own country for even deciding to side with Israel in the first place. Because you can't even attempt to justify, in the name of you claim some terrorists have done something to you. They killed how many people? 1,000, made their soul rest in peace. But can you justify why innocent children, women, hospitals, refugees, people who are running away, refugees, should be bombed? Because the whole thing doesn't make sense to me. And it's doing all the hard work that has been done post Second World War. All the work that has been done post Second World War is being thrown into the gutter because of the recklessness that has been shown by the international community in this Israel situation. I think anybody, any human being loving person, any justice loving person must not sit down quiet, must add their voices to this call. In fact, beyond the call, not only for Israel to stop, but after at some point it will stop, but to even seek for proper reparation from them, as in there must be some punishment. And then also to then push the agenda of recognizing that Palestine is a country. This whole issue about some people recognizing that it doesn't make sense to me. So this whole issue about the two-state solution, as the world must show proper commitment. It hasn't been doing too much lip service, and then save innocent souls. Because as things stands now, Israel clearly has shown that they do not care about the lives of the common people in Palestine. And then they are human beings. It doesn't matter whether they are color, they are human beings who also have a right to enjoy their lives, have a right to their freedoms, who also have a right to move about and pursue their own happiness. And if we claim that we have any sort of commitment to all these international, to human rights and all those things, then we must not sit down aloof and allow this injustice to be perpetrated against the people of Palestine.
KTB.
What is going on in Palestine is a complete madness. It's utter madness. You cannot. It's hard to explain. What makes it hard to explain is that the justification that terrorists invaded some kibbutzes in Israel, which kibbutzes are part of the occupation, killed some people, So because of that, we are laying waste to a whole people, bombing women, children, hospitals, freeways, refugees who are running away, refugee camps, border crossings. Basically, anything that can be bombed is being bombed and being bombed again. I have a simple question. If you were a terrorist and you went to commit an atrocity somewhere, will you go back and station yourself in a certain spot to be bombed? Why would you do that? It defies common sense that the excuse is that we are ridding the whole of Palestine of Hamas by bombing Palestine into oblivion, when we know common sense will tell you that they will not be sitting there waiting for you. Unfortunately, the world, same world that went into Iraq, completely destroyed Iraq, and created the instability that we have in the world today. The refugee problem that we have in the world today was created by that war to find weapons of mass destruction, which today they freely admit that they had the wrong information. The same world that went into Syria, one of the cradles of civilization, and destroyed Syria. Same world that went into Kosovo. Same world that went into Mali, Libya, created the problem that exists in Libya today, have not been able to address the killing of innocent citizens, innocent children, elderly. Somehow there is an impression being created that every Palestinian is a terrorist, when we know that they are Jewish Palestinians. They are Palestinian Jews. They are Arab Jews. If you've been to that part of the world before, because of their historic antecedents, there are even Ethiopian Jews who live in the Holy Land. So why is this going on, and why is it unchecked? But somewhere, somehow, there are some people who thrive on it. The bellicose, let me use it, nonsense that we hear from certain politicians in certain parts of the world, who do it to create a certain erroneous impression. And it's going on. I can only say sorry to the people who are being affected by this. I can't imagine living in a world where somebody, off of one person, 2 people, 3 people, decide to cut off water, electricity, food, baby milk, all in the name of looking for terrorists, where somebody decides to bomb a hospital and say that we're looking for terrorists. You cannot imagine being an ambulance responder, going to pick up injured people from one point, getting to the hospital and finding out that your own family, your own family have just been brought dead. Did you see a few days ago, did you see that ambulance responder? Did you see that doctor whose children were brought to the hospital and they had just pronounced them dead? A doctor who had been saving lives? This can't continue. Somehow or the other, it has to stop. Whether, I don't know why, and I'm not competent enough to ask the other Arab countries why they sit for this to happen. But it has to stop somehow. It has to stop. The world cannot look on for this to continue going on. It has to end. Unfortunately, my country, Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana, is now being led by Timothy, who at one point was a Christian, at one point he was a British citizen, at one point he was a boys' brigade. Now, Dr. Bawumia is like the hymn through all the changing scenes of life. In trouble and in joy, in presidential candidate and in vice presidential candidate, he has absolutely no conviction, zero conviction. Instead of growing a pair between his legs and standing up for something because you are a Muslim, you won't do it. You rather send your wife to go and insult your political opponents. Let me finish. What has gone on is shocking. It must stop. And countries like Ghana must stand up to be counted and say this must end.
Thank you. Thank you. And this is coming from Ambassador Sam Piale, who says, Kwesi Pratt, you're damn right, but not all the way. It's quality, not tribal quantity. Any Muslim who cannot raise his voice against the bombing of historical and ancestral mosque in Palestine is a faithless Muslim and not fit for purpose. Honorable Soa.
So thank you very much. This is, like he said, it's not a Christian-Muslim war. That's not how I see it. I see it as a very unfortunate situation. Since the last time I came, I've done a lot of studies about this conflicts, and I've followed this war a little bit more closely than I normally would have. And I find that every proposal given for the solution hasn't worked. Let the two states, let there be two states side by side. The Palestinians will say, or some Palestinian leadership will say no. Israel will say no. So you're thinking, what is the real solution for all this? I sympathize with those going through the sufferings, the innocent Palestinians being bombed and all that. But I also have a blame for the Hamas leadership. I mean, I would have thought you went and did this in Israel. Come forward and rally your people together. You don't run into holes. Whilst your people are being treated the way they are being treated, are you really for the people or you're for yourselves? If you go and commit an atrocity and you know Israel, you know they'll come after you, and you know they'll come after you hard, and they'll find any reason to come after you. Why do you go and hide? Stand in the front. Defend your people. But now you are running away and leaving them exposed. I find that very, very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. I mean, that's my personal view. I find it very unfortunate. I think if you stand for something, stand for it all the way. Don't put your people in the line of fire and then you yourself, you are hiding. Why are you hiding? If you came out now and said, look, I did the thing, I'm not ashamed that I did it because it's our land, you've occupied our land, and I did it, we are bold about it. I don't think they'll go looking for anybody. But I listened to a woman's testimony who had actually been captured from her home and sold to Hamas. Captured by a civilian and went to, she had them like bargaining for her. How much will you pay me if I give you this one? Use it as a plea to release some of your prisoners. For me, I think the leadership of Hamas hasn't done well as well. I mean, we are blaming Israel. What they are doing is terrible, yes, but the leadership of Hamas hasn't also done well. And I think if you've done this, come forward, I've done it. Stop bombing my people. Here I am. Then that will be real sacrifice. But you don't leave your people being bombed, then you go under a bunker, living large. I don't think it's right. That's my view. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Before I come to Comrade Kwesi Pratt, I think this one is directly addressed to him. This one is Jonas says, please ask Uncle Pratt who's Nkrumah's vice president or running mate was. Because he didn't come across anything of, I didn't come across anything of sort. Now, if Nkrumah can run this country without a vice president or running mate, it means this country can be run without a running mate or vice president. So let's go back and learn from Nkrumah. Mr. Pratt.
Unfortunately, we have a different constitution. The constitution we have insists on a running mate. So, unfortunately, we are not the drafters of the 1992 constitution. Honorable Member of Parliament, now you have said that since the last time, you've been trying very hard to understand what is happening in the Middle East. I don't know what sources you've been learning from, but they are very bad sources. Okay. Because Hamas has fully claimed responsibility for what happened on October 7th. Fully. They haven't run away from what they did. They claimed responsibility for what happened on October 7th. And Hamas leaders are not in bunkers running away. They are fighting. They are in the battlefield. 2 weeks ago, Israeli figures suggested that about 300 Israeli soldiers have died in the fighting. How did they die in the fighting if Hamas had run away and they were hiding? Other reports indicate that thousands of Israeli soldiers have died in the fighting. Tanks have been destroyed and so on. And I've seen Hamas militants in the field fighting, destroying tanks and so on. So they are not in hiding. In any case, if we refer to international law, international law does not under any circumstance give the occupier the right to defend himself against the occupied. International law discriminates in favor of the occupied. Only the occupied under international law has a right to pick up weapons and fight. Israel is the occupier. The Palestinians are occupied. You can never put them at the same level. And indeed, October 7th was not the beginning of the conflict. No. The conflict dates back 75 years ago. What is happening in Palestine cannot be justified under any circumstance. Cannot be justified under any circumstance. Look, if you are counting those who are lost under the rubble, more than 30,000 people have been killed. More than 30,000 people have been killed. 30,000. Can you imagine? 30,000 people killed. 2/3 of those who have been killed are women and children. Women and children. You understand? Innocent women and children. Nothing can justify the genocide which is being committed in Palestine by Israel. And I am ashamed, completely ashamed, that my own government, my president, is able to declare that he stands firmly with Israel. So shocking. I'm so ashamed. I'm so embarrassed. I can't raise my head up. And this is being done in my name. This is being done in my name. Support for Israel is being done in my name. I can't believe it. Look, what is happening in Gaza will have serious consequences for Israel, for the entire Middle East, and for the world. In our own interest, we have to act decisively and now to stop this genocide.
In the meantime, while there's failure to act, it continues. In fact, one of the saddest reports I've heard about is about Palestinian journalists who've decided to stay within Gaza and report what is going. the Israeli army has decided to target their families and where they live.
They're killing journalists
yes,
like that. But you know, this world is so full of hypocrisy, I cannot believe it. You know, yesterday, this Russian dissident died in prison. And among those condemning Putin is Zelensky. I can't believe it. Zelensky condemning Putin. Zelensky, who has been sending murder squads into Moscow to go and kill journalists. Journalists for supporting Russians' war effort. Journalists for expressing their views. Zelensky too has the effrontery to be opening his mouth. I mean, the level of hypocrisy is unbelievable. The President of the United States of America, how many people haven't the CIA killed? Including Patrice Lumumba, including Salvador Allende, and so on. And yesterday, look at them. Belgium was also complaining. Hypocrisy, my friend.
Well, listen, a few birthday dedications though. This one is a birthday dedication to Nathaniel Guamatete. Happy birthday to my dear husband Nathaniel Guamatete, Eastern Regional Deputy Youth Organizer of the National Democratic Congress. I cherish you today, tomorrow, and always. May God shower his blessings upon you in all your endeavors. Love you endlessly. Now, this is from his wife, Bernice Interior Owusu Tete. Bernice Interior Owusu Tete to her husband, Nathaniel Guamatete. Happy birthday to you. And there's also another one from, okay, this one says, happy 70th birthday to Mr. William Opari Saforo, a.k.a. Okay, that one I cannot read. Mr. William Opari Saforo, I think that's good enough. Former NDC chairman for core constituency from Members of Christ Ambassadors. And of course, one of our panelists, Mr. Kojo Chumbuafo, was celebrating his father's 90th birthday, I think earlier in the week. Yes, 90 years. Engineer Kweku Chumbuafo. Happy 90th birthday to you, and a happy birthday to my very good friend, Dinah Totime. Happy birthday to you. A few things. On 21st February 2024 at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, there's a public lecture on the theme Governance and Performance of State-Owned Enterprises and its Rippling Effects on the Economy, organized by United Voices for Change. But there's importantly 24th February, next Saturday, will be the Day of Shame. The Day of Shame is every 24th February. We mark the overthrow of Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and how we got here. So 24th February is the Day of Shame, and this year the 4th edition of the Great Deception will be launched on that day. The Great Deception will be launched on that day, where there's an assessment of how Nkrumah was overthrown and how we are learning from the West that they played a huge role in the overthrow of Kwame. In fact, they were there. It was their brainchild. They actually put that together. It was their idea to overthrow Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. The Great Deception is a book that will be published, and then later we'll share with you exactly on that day how you can get that book and read it. Know a lot more about how Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown, not by just the people whose faces you know every day, not by Kotoka, Ankara alone, but that they were only executing what the West wanted them to do. So that's on 24th February, next Saturday. So do take note. And then on 6th March, we'll commission the National Cathedral. Well, that was a big thank you to Kobe Kwesi Frajinia, who is General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. And of course, a big thank you to Honorable Delasoa, who is Member of Parliament for Kwando. A big thank you to Lawyer Api Adankwa, who is a member of the Movement for Change. And of course, a bigger thank you to Kojo Chumbuafo. He's also an engineer Kojo Chumbuafo. Big thank you to the panel for today. And of course, a big thank you to our affiliate radio stations across the country. We're live on Pan-African Television, live on Radio Gold 90.5 FM. A big thank you to my crew, Dion Hubert, who is director, my producers, Erabna, and of course, Tijani and Erabna, so that there's no fight between the two of them. Tijani before Erabna. And then a big thank you to Emmanuel Ose, who was in charge of sounds, research, Ruben, and everybody that worked on this show. We are back same time next week with another edition of the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a fruitful week.
has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer.